Let's try that. Can you guys hear me now? Let me know in the comments. I guess some settings I had changed must have screwed things up a little bit, but let me just quickly check here. Let's try that. Okay, yes, it does look like it's working now. My apologies about that. Anyway, yeah, the bolt throwers, because of the lack of mobility here, kind of these rocks and the positioning my brother set up here, the vampire counts didn't get to bring all their forces to bear at the same time, and the lack of mobility on their part, no mobile units whatsoever, means that the bolt thrower is going to be safe to fire here for quite some time. In the front line, we've already got Master Beguilement on these Hargonath Executioners. They're going to beat up a little bit. In the center, the Blackguard of Nagron, there's a big Dance Macabre here that was cast. Those Blackguard did a ton of damage took a ton of damage from the Graveguard's great weapons there, but Marathi now getting in the fight. The Hydra also jumping in there as well. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, still working out the kinks a little bit on the old OBS. I was trying to work on some settings here. Ended up having to re-record a bunch of videos. Anyway, it's big pain. But let's see. Both the Canine Assassins popped their Robe of Shadows at the same time, which is maybe a little bit of a mistake, but they did both, use them. It's going to do a ton of damage to everything here. You can see Banshees were brought from the Vampire Counts as part of this big infantry horde, and they just get wrecked by Soul Stealer and by that Web of Shadows effect there, right? Even Vlad himself has taken substantial damage as well, so the character effects looking pretty strong so far for the Dark Elves. You can see, again, this bolt thrower has already used up a good portion of its ammunition, just raining fire into the flank here on the multi-shot, up to only 26 kills. That kind of surprised me. I would think we'd see more. Another nice Hydra breath attack. It kind of disengages to the rear, pulls back. Beautifully done there. This Banshees come in, try to assassinate the Canine Assassins, but then themselves get hit with a Soul Stealer. That's going to, once again, do a ton of magic damage to all those single entities. Blackguard, despite having got pretty wrecked early on, do continue to hold out, and the Hargonath Executioners end up being a very good pick here. I mean, when we had talked about this matchup, I told my bro, like, yeah, I mean, Graveguards are somewhat threatening. I don't know if you necessarily need Hargonath Executioners here, but they can be nice to have. And I'm definitely glad he brought them because, yeah, they are going to do a great job cutting through all of this Vampire Counts infantry. The Hydra is doing a great job as well, just kind of tanking out some damage at this point, can heal itself substantially. Marathi's debuffs mean that the majority of these undead units are going to be 0-0 on attack and defense, or at least close to it. So one of the reasons why this matchup is so favored for Dark Elves is because of those AoE debuffs from Marathi, but she's doing alright. Her HP's fine, her leadership's not amazing, but the Canine Assassins also continue to provide some poison. Just fantastic. Wouldn't be a live stream without a live error. I know, right? That was, I was trying to get it set up so that I could record, like, my voice and the game audio separately for my videos, and I think the setting I changed actually screwed it up for the live stream. So, yeah, I'm gonna need to do some more fine-tuning on OBS and try and figure that stuff out. But anyway. Another Soul Stealer going down here. I'm surprised these Banshees have managed to survive. I mean, one of them's getting close to her healing cap, the other one not so much. But Hydra's leadership's not that great. Thankfully, there are still some Hargonath Executioners that can come reinforce this center pocket right here. The Dark Riders as well have been free to just kind of cycle charge, which they're not doing the most damage in the world, but it's something. A little bit of treacherous friendly fire as well from the Bolt Thrower onto those Blackguard. Finishes them off, but the Graveguards are also done for. Oh man, this bombardment onto the Banshee is perfect. That magic damage literally just blasts both Banshees straight to the face. That looks fantastic. And with that, Dark Elves will take the win. So Dark Elves definitely the faction we had the most practice with, even though we didn't practice this matchup specifically. So I'm glad to see my bro was able to take home the win on that one. Yeah, both thrower 163 kills, almost 2,000 damage value. This is why you bring some mobility, folks. I mean, all infantry builds are strong, especially in sort of this newer player, all vanilla type meta. But at the same time, no mobility means inability to shut down this artillery that's spaced far enough out that, like, your slow infantry can't get to it, right? Ends up getting insane value. Hydra also does a great job. Blackguard, to be expected. One does well. One gets a little bit cut up by the Grave Guards, who themselves probably get some pretty nice value. You have 1205 on one of them. Pretty fantastic. The rest, Grave Guards with shields, they did pretty decently. I actually think this is maybe a rule break, arguably. I'm not really sure. I don't remember 100%, but it doesn't matter. Banshees get canned. Vlad also, I was surprised, did very little damage. Argonath executions don't pay for themselves, but definitely cutting up a lot of stuff. Holding until the late game. Marathi, obviously, huge value on her as well. 3,263, 13,879 overall damage dealt. K-Knight Assassins do pretty well. Huge fan of them, just in general. I think they're probably the best Assassins type hero. I don't know. I go back and forth between them and the Skaven Assassins because they're both so good, but I think these guys having the ranged attack and then that Web of Shadows also gives them some utility that a lot of the other Assassins type heroes lack. Most of them don't have any AoE damage potential, so that's pretty fantastic there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this replay. Let's go ahead and get to Game 3. I'm just going to quickly transition over here, so no spoilies. Game 3 of this series going to be High Elves versus Britonia. So we'll switch it back on over to take a look at the builds here. Yeah, Tyrion versus the Enchantress, of course. We've got Lore of Life, a Noble as well, some Lothern Sea Guards, Spearmen, couple Bolt Throwers once again, Lyrian Reavers, and the Flamespire Phoenix. A little bit of an interesting choice. This is another matchup that we didn't really get to talk about a lot, and I don't know if my brother got any practice games. I don't think he did as the High Elves, so I think he had played against the High Elves a couple times, but an interesting situation. The Tyrion and the Noble both going to be pretty solid here. I mean, we had talked about Britonia, and he had played a game or two against Britonia. Just as kind of general characteristics, the biggest threat is obviously the Fey Enchantress, so he knew about that. Also Paladin on foot and Gotrek, potentially very threatening. We've got Battle Pilgrim, ROR here, some Foot Squires, lots of Foot Squires. Not something I expected at all, to be honest, but Peasant Bowmen, Hawks Arrows as well. A couple Cavalry this time. Knights Lionhearted eating those Bolt Thrower shots. Definitely pretty solid. Yeah, we already talked about the High Elves build. Deployment here, pretty solid. I mean, Lothern Sea Guard are going to be decent against the Cavalry, but the issue is the Foot Squires, actually. There's not a lot in my brother's build that can deal with them super efficiently. Likewise, these Holy Wardens of Lemaisenthal also could spell a little bit of trouble, but I like this early aggression here from these Reavers, just immediately impacting these mobs, getting them off the field. Yeah, focus firing the archers onto the Foot Squires would probably be a pretty good play as well, and it looks like he does switch onto them. That lack of missile block chance and only 70 armor means they'll definitely take some damage from the High Elven archers. Likewise, Knights Lionhearted almost completely shut down just from the initial Bolt Throwers, which is really, really nice. But the infantry fight's not looking great. An interesting play here, this regrowth on these Lothern Sea Guard. I mean, I guess they have taken a ton of HP damage, but saving that Winds of Magic to try and use it either on the Noble or on Tyrion probably would have been a little bit better, but let's see. The Noble and Tyrion going to dive in. Both players kind of over-blobbing a little bit, but it's all right. I mean, it's to be expected in this kind of skill level of game. Let's see, Flamespire Phoenix could fly over and just get a nice bombing run all down the line here, and that would help even out this infantry fight a little bit. Looks like it is going to get one drop there and just dive on in. If it was the Arcane Phoenix, that would have been very solid, but meanwhile, this big blob here again just... I mean, it's definitely favoring the High Elves. They're getting time to fire. Big old drop from the Fey Enchantress, too. Lands directly on Tyrion. Doesn't do all that much damage to him, but does quite a bit of friendly fire. Unfortunately, the Phoenix just gets shredded here by Gotrek and the Fey Enchantress pretty quickly. But Reavers do manage to get up and around the flank and start to shut down those Peasant Archers, which is pretty nice. They had done quite a bit of damage. And, oh, man, I missed that Sun Fang. You guys saw it right out of the corner of the screen here. Just destroys 2 Foot Squires, Spearmen. Huge value on that Sun Fang right there. So, yeah, just being a little bit more patient with the Phoenix would have been beneficial, because now in this single entity fight, I don't think my brother necessarily expected Gotrek to be this strong. I mean, Gotrek Almost 500 weapon strength with the anti-large. He's going to get really good RNG rolls here, too. You can see that Tyrion hasn't successfully defended any of the attacks, really, from Gotrek. He's got hit by all of them. But another regrowth going to be popped on Tyrion. Try and keep him in the fight. He does have Heart of Averlorn as well, so he could potentially get that healing proc. But let's see. Now he's going to have to pull away. Noble also probably should pull away at this point, but Fanchantress has taken some pretty significant damage as well, so definitely no pushovers, but a lot of the Britonian force actually gets routed off. This is why the loss of the Phoenix early on, I think, was pretty painful. Had it been around in this late game situation, it could have come down, possibly finished off the Fanchantress. At the very least, you know, maybe these characters shouldn't be taking this fight here in the center, but it's very, very close at this point. Tyrion getting a little bit more healing there, trying to get away from Gotrek. Looks like, yep, he is going to be able to get away there. Just come reunify with the Mage of Life here, try and take out some of these Foot Squires. Foot Squires are still pushing. They're definitely making their presence felt, and now that kind of leadership break it has worn off, and a lot of these units are coming back from rout, it could spell trouble for the High Elves. Now balance power still very close at this point. Noble and Tyrion both able to be healed some more, so we'll see what comes of that. Lothern Seaguard holding out admirably against the Foot Squires, definitely taking some HP damage. Balance power starting to tip a little bit though, as a nice heal, stand your ground pop from Tyrion, but the Fanchantress gets a beautiful Earthblood, and it doesn't look like the DPS is going to be quite there to finish off these characters here. Another bombardment from the Fanchantress. Makes great contact on that bolt thrower. I think actually might have just straight up destroyed one of the artillery pieces. Nope, it's still online. Did kill a good portion of the crew. But Tyrion just really can't go 1v3 in this matchup. The Noble gets in there, but again, Noble versus Gotrek, really going to favor Gotrek, considering the Noble's anti-large bonus does not apply. Well, this is going to be a victory for Reed, but certainly a well-fought one. And a tough build to deal with for the High Elves, certainly. Illegal flat build, yeah. I don't know, we weren't strictly using the banner rule set necessarily. It was sort of a little bit more of a looser rule set, but yeah, it's all good at the end of the day. The Foot Squires, man, not something I was expecting, certainly, but definitely did quite well. Multiples of them paid for themselves. The Cavalry was limited quite well. The Peasant Archers did some pretty good damage. I think, again, the Phoenix just getting eaten up so quickly, it is one of those things that in this game, you know, a seemingly minor mistake can turn into a major mistake with that burst damage potential. And Gotrek, I mean, 3,500 damage value on him, absolutely ridiculous. And Enchantress also getting some pretty good drain value in. Yeah, considering sort of the build he was up against, I have to say my brother did pretty well, all things considered. Lothern Seaguard did nicely. At Lyrian Weaver flanked to take out the archers was pretty nice as well. Bolt throwers are very cost effective here. Spears don't quite pay for themselves, but yeah, Tyrion close. But no cigar. I think the character situation obviously was a little bit rough. It's tough to advocate taking Tyrion on foot because Footlord Jail is a real thing, but may have been more beneficial to have Tyrion on foot in that situation, and maybe the Noble as well, just so they could kind of fight those characters without being subject to the anti-large bonus. But anyway, very fun one. Ree is going to take the series 2-1, but let's go on. I've got another series to show you guys from this tournament, so we'll pop that up. And let's go with, let me just check the order here real quick. Okay, next up, my brother is playing Mercy the Mad, who is a Total War Warhammer content creator. Those of you guys who don't know, he's done some campaign-related stuff, not too much in the multiplayer scene, obviously, as this kind of multiplayer, new to multiplayer tournament, so to speak. But Empire versus Dark Elves. Again, we've got Barathi, double Manticore, single Canine Assassin, 5 spears with a single Corsair. He's got a mix of Dark Riders, a couple crossbows, couple spears and shields, Cold One Chariot as well. Yeah, the Reaper Bolt Throwers, fantastic. Big old force for the Empire here. Got some Demogryph Knights with halberds, Karl fronts up in the air, spearmen with shields, handgunners, and a Jade Wizard, swordsman. It's a build, as they say. Quite the Empire build. So let's see how they get up to. Hey, what's up, Eldrin in the Mist? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice thing about this, I mean, I do love live casting, like tournaments and games and stuff. The nice thing about this format, though, is we can get through a high volume of battles in a stream. Anyway, we're going to fast forward a little bit as they approach. Bolt throwers are going to be switching onto the Demogryph Knights. This was fought accidentally on Ultra, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. Large to Ultra is close to the same balance. It might be slightly different, but it's pretty close to the same. Whereas, like, you know, small and medium are a more significant difference, but Morathi and Double Manticore just going to go straight after Karl in the air. Karl definitely wishing that this was game 3 and he had a land button, and also a nasty Soul Stealer coming in, so my brother getting really aggressive here. Grim coming in and just doing some great work initially. He's going to have to pull away from that handgunner fire, but I love the early aggression. Those Demogryph Knights already dropped 6 or 8 unit models even. About to probably drop some more with that bolt thrower fire, so pretty good advantage so far. Of course, that is value that can't be healed back, right? Every unit model that drops, now up to 10 unit models dropped on that Demogryph, so pretty good so far. Likewise, the crossbows come in and kind of pull up on a flank position and unload on the handgunners, which is a nice target, honestly. Yeah, I mean, the AP is not super necessary, obviously, against the handgunners, but just in terms of kind of win condition, targeting priority, that's pretty good. Unfortunately, though, one of the Manticores eats a bunch of bullets and gets enraged down into the infantry force. But for the time being, Mercy's just kind of holding back his infantry as he tries to outshoot the Dark Elves here. The whole time, though, Karl's going to be chased up in the air. He pops his stuff, tries to get some healing, but Morathi and the Manticore is obviously way too much to deal with. The repeater crossbow is also just savaging these handgunners in the center. Dark Elf infantry getting in. We'll watch these Corsairs as they come into combat against the Empire swordsmen. This is a great target for them to try and fight. Handgunners shooting up in the air continuously as well. I think there was another Soul Stealer there. It might have been a little bit of a misclick, but at this point, Morathi pulls back, leaving the Manticore enraged to chase Karl. The Manticores probably didn't end up paying for themselves, but the pressure of them has been significant. Karl finally gets down onto the ground here, charging into those Corsairs, but that does open him up to a rear charge from Morathi. Demogryph Knights also charging in. Mercy doing his best to try and support the Emperor here, give him some help. But these Cold One chariots moving in, they could also try and move in and potentially mass block, do some armor-piercing damage to Karl, but looks like instead the Dark Riders are just going to pull up on station and probably unload. They're shooting the crossbowmen, or sorry, the handgunners still. I guess they don't really need to shoot Karl. He is kind of losing to Morathi here, and the Demogryph Knights likewise. They're doing some significant damage. Ooh, suddenly things turn around, and it's a little bit dicey for Morathi. It really doesn't take much for her to get taken out. Big attacks from Karl. Shield of Faith on him. She gets terrified. A couple of big attacks. Will it be enough? Now the crossbows are focusing on Karl. Morathi just straight up gets killed. Just absolutely destroyed by angry murder chickens, which is, again, fine. We'll see how the rest of the build is able to hold out. I don't know what became of that K-Knight assassin. He's got to be hanging around here somewhere still. Perhaps. I'm not really sure. Anyway, the Cold One chariots sitting in sustained combat against spears. Doing all right. Their unit models did penetrate pretty deep into this formation, but Karl's, the HP damage on Karl's pretty real, and that little Earthblood did not actually hit Karl, which could be potentially a mistake. Big old Shield of Thorns, though, will give him some physical resistance. You can see the repeater crossbows again pulling over. There's the K-Knight assassin coming forward to pop his leadership buffs, maybe pop that Web of Shadows. Manticore comes in, tries to get at Karl. He's got Hammer of Sigmar active, though. He is going to easily deal with it, but that whole time spent trying to even do 1 or 2 attack animations on these Manticores is time that the repeater crossbows can open up. So Karl getting wrecked. And with him going down, that is both, both factions losing their leadership is more or less a wash. I mean, they're equally expensive and powerful characters, I would say. So, the K-Knight Assassin now can just sit here, though, maybe use his bow to go after the Jade Wizard. In general, just apply that AoE poison. These repeater crossbows also a pretty significant presence at this point. The handgunners have been focusing on the flying units, which, they should. But a great job by these Dark Riders with shields, too, kind of threatening and chasing some routing units. Cold One Chariots did get routed off, but now coming back for a brutal rear charge on this massive blob of Empire State troops. That is going to be a nasty rear charge there. Probably rout off multiple units. With Krell going down. No, he's still on the field. He is coming back. 13 HP on the Emperor. Another great rear charge, kind of cycling one after the other on these Dark Riders. Really excellent play. The bolt throwers also going in on the scatter shot. Probably should stay on the single shot and maybe go after these characters, or if they could land even like 1 or 2 shots on fronts, that would probably be enough. But still, Dark Elves in a pretty commanding position at this point. They've got a big force routed here. That attacked by artillery debuff, at the very least, will continue to provide some leadership damage. 4 Empire units routing here. A little bit of healing, tiny bit of Earthblood. But even like the Cold One Chariot's crossbows at this point are potentially threatening for Krell. He really has to be careful where he goes. Dark Riders, though, excellent play here. I mean, this is something that even veteran players sometimes will not do effectively. Using those light cavalry to chase these routing units. There's like 5-6 routing Empire units right here. So excellent use of the Dark Riders just to keep things tilted in his favor. Krell evidently routed again, comes back, just hanging out in the distance. But we can fast forward. It's pretty clear at this point that Dark Elves have enough of a presence to try and win this. And it's going to be tricky for the Empire. Krell shatters. A little bit more damage on some of these scattered units, and that should be army losses. Handgunners getting taken out, and there we go. So, some awesome play, I have to say, on both sides. I'm super proud of my bros. The chasing routing units was super, super strong here, and the Dark Riders were used to great effect. Dark Elf Empire was one you guys did play, okay. Yeah, I think it's more of a performance issue than anything else. I'm not really sure, to be honest, but for whatever reason, Ladder is defaulted to large unit size rather than Ultra. But I agree, Ultra, the extra spectacle of that few more unit models does add to it. I agree 100% with that. Wrathy getting canned, but still getting some good damage value out before she got killed there. Really, the repeater crossbows and the bolt throwers, I would say, were what carried it for my bro. The bolt throwers and repeater crossbows all just netting more than what he paid for them in terms of damage value. Really, really good stuff. The Cold One Chariots also 126 kills, not quite paying for themselves, but 10,000 damage dealt overall. I mean, certainly you got to do that damage. Something. Feral Manticores, Merce did a good job of limiting them fairly well. Handgunners, despite the fact they faced some serious challenges, did pay for themselves pretty decently. The same can't necessarily be said of the Demogryph Knights with halberds. Krell, same thing, didn't quite get the damage value back that he needed to, and a lot of this lower tier Empire infantry kind of just gets a little bit run over. It's tough, but again, I think this is technically a rule break on the number of spears that was brought, but that's fine. That's fine. Again, didn't end up mattering that much, so there you go. Can I do a theory crafting video sometime? Talk about how he thinks certain heroes will fare against 4 Chaos God army types? Maybe cover single faction versus... Yeah, I could definitely, especially once we get closer. That is absolutely something that I will think about. Thank you, Aldrin of the Mist. I appreciate that. Authenticity about his ladder unit size. Yeah, I'll have to see. I mean, with the release of Game 3 upcoming, probably most people aren't going to be wanting to make a lot of changes, but fun one. Let's go ahead and get to the next one of this series, though. Brother Grimm versus Mercy the Mad. Next up, I believe, is... Oh, nope, I've loaded the wrong one. Okay, so let me reload this. This is fantastic. It's been, what, 30 minutes on the stream, and we've already got through, like, 4 battles. So that's really good. I actually really like this format. I've just decided. Okay, next up is actually, Greenskins versus Dark Elves. So my bro taking the Greeny Boys, Dark Elves for Mercy to Mad. And I think we had played Greenskins versus... Was it Greenskins versus Dark Elves? Or maybe Greenskins versus Lizardmen? Where I was playing the Greenskins. So my bro actually hadn't himself played the Greenskins yet, but we've got the quick Vanguard attack here, Wolf Rider Archers, and some repeater crossbows going directly after them. Morathi Double Manticore once again, and some Dark Shards, a Bolt Thrower, single Witch Elf, lots of Fear Spears and Sad Swords. Greenskin side there, we had that Skirmish Cavalry, some Savage Orc Biggins out at the flanks, Gobos through the center, Night Gobos. Got Black Orcs, 2 units of Black Orcs, and the Goblin Great Shaman, Black Orc Big Boss as well, and some additional Skirmish Cav out on the other flank. Did pretty good there. Yeah, Wei, I think single entity missile damage is also being scaled, because one issue right now is... Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I did see that like spell and other damages are being scaled better for unit values, which is nice. But a quick attack here from these Manticores, they're going to land on the Wolf Rider Archers. If the Spider could get over there in time to actually start to tear these Manticores apart, that would be great. A nice Soul Stealer being popped here though as the heroes run through, and it does look like they do get a hold of the one Manticore. That's pretty nice. A couple of attacks there. Bob is on his pig, so he's got the mobility. And the Manticore, once it gets enraged, will obviously stop, turn around, and begin to fight. So nice little pick there. Mercy attempting to get a bit cheeky. But all this, meanwhile, the Bolt Throwers are just shooting goblins. Yes, so that's fine, as long as they're not shooting the Black Orcs. It does look like they got about 8 models off the Black Orcs, though, and did some pretty significant HP damage. But this big kind of skirmish... Single entity fight out here on the flanks, obviously pretty important. Spider Riders eating some volleys from the repeater crossbows, not great. They're returning fire, not doing that much damage. I don't know, actually pretty impactful here. These repeater crossbows, this one unit just about down. But let's see how it goes. Goblin Great Shaman pulling back. We've got more Wolf Riders coming back from route as well. Trying to get in there, keep that Manticore pressured off, keep the range pressure up on the repeater crossbows as well. Morathi drops down once again, getting real risky with it. Obviously wants to get rid of the Skirmish Cav before this main force comes and attacks, but Morathi ends up going down here along with the Manticores. That's obviously going to be a huge problem. But the Light Cav does rout. They're not able to get us around and keep Morathi locked on the ground, most likely. Another nasty Soul Stealer here, going to get a ton of value on Savage Orc Biggins, on Bob, on the Goblin Great Shaman as well. Bob taking a lot of HP damage, which is really not great. He's going to be pretty essential in this late game. The repeater crossbows charging into screen, which is definitely the right call to try and get Morathi back up in the air, even though they're going to get slaughtered in that melee engagement. The other Manticore also did get enraged there. So the Black Orc Big Boss kind of trading for the Manticore is not necessarily great for the Greenskins. It's a little bit more cost efficient for the Dark Elves, but so the Manticore did come back despite taking significant damage early on. Itchy Nuisance and Don't Even Try It both being popped. Don't Even Try It going to do a little bit of damage, add a little bit of ability recharge time for Morathi. She is able to escape. Now the Bolt Thrower is switching to focus on the Goblin Great Shaman, which is what they probably should have been doing from the beginning, to be honest, but better late than never, I suppose. And again, the Manticore here right up against the edge of the map being pressured by those Skirmish Cav. If they could get it to route and then just get it right off the side, that would be ideal. But let's see. Yeah, Coops. Unfortunately, with this holiday season, I'm going to be out of town for like 10 days over Christmas, so I don't know, like this, the videos that I have slated to get uploaded don't have any intros, and I don't know if I'm going to have time to really, because the intros do take quite a bit of editing resources, and the time that I have to edit, I would rather right now use on some other content that you guys will see. I've got like my top wishes for Norska rework, top wishes for Britonia rework that I'm working on. Some other stuff, like more Game 3 news potentially is also, we're still waiting on the Slanesh roster reveal, whatnot. But anyway, this sort of Helm's Deep of Dark Shards proves pretty nasty for the Black Orcs to try and charge into. One unit basically completely combat ineffective before they get into the fight, which is unfortunate, but the Greenskins Rush Assault is now coming on strong. Green Gobos, Orcs, all coming through, just mashing on all these infantry here. It's not going to go great for them in a number of pockets, but if the Greenskins have a WA active, it would help these Spider Riders potentially win against these Repeater Crossbows, but actually Mercy doing a great job. Dropping that weakened Manticore down might seem small, but those little kind of periphery engagements can prove pretty decisive in a late game. But there's the WA. All of a sudden, everything is just that much more damaging, and you can see that the Dark Elves are having some problems for sure. Murderous Prowess goes off at about the same time, though, so both players getting a huge power spike while actually just wears off as Murderous Prowess gets active, and this giant concave of Dark Shards still looking very, very threatening at this point, especially with this Witch Elf still lurking here. If the Witch Elves can get in, enrage the Goblin Great Shaman, and, leave him vulnerable to the crossbow concave, could be really dangerous. The Black Orcs absolutely lawnmowered all of those infantry, but they have been held up for quite some time, which is allowing the Dark Shards, the Bolt Throwers, time to shoot in there and take advantage of their ranged damage. Likewise, again, a little bit of a mistake. These Savage Orc Biggins, a little bit over-blobbing, coming in to try and support on the Goblin Great Shaman. Probably one should have detached to try and hit these Witch Elves and then bring the other ones back to try and attack these Dark Shards, but right now they're staying a little bit blobbed up, and as a result, the Dark Shards are just free to fire here. Probably should be focusing the Goblin Great Shaman, but also focusing the infantry could be pretty strong as well. A little bit of sneaky stabbing right there, just to give that little bit of extra melee attack. But you can see here that the Greenskins push starting to run out of steam a little bit. A really good Soul Stealer as well, probably going to finish off Bob and finish off these Savage Orc Biggins in the center, so yeah, man, the initial Greenskins rush looked really promising, but Mercy the Mad doing a great job just keeping his Helm's Deep of Dark Shards, the defensive position online, and just the volume of fire is so painful with this many Dark Shards. The damage output is so real. So pretty quickly, the Greenskins push falls apart. It was an admirable attempt, and maybe if he could have actually finished off Marathi early on, might have made the difference. I didn't see with the spell selection my brother had. I think he just had Sneaky Stabbin' and Itchy Nuisance. I don't know if he had Vindictive Glare, but Vindictive Glare might have made a significant difference there. I mean, you probably could have, like, for sure shattered one or both of the Manticores. Maybe that helps win out some of those peripheral engagements so that you have more of the Skirmish Cav alive. Because if these guys are alive and the Manticores are not in the field, then you can use them to pressure this skirmish line, so that while the infantry is getting in and lawnmowering the Dark Elves, you don't face that significant threat. But anyway, we'll even up the series 1-1, and we'll go ahead and watch the last one of the series. 1,000 damage value each on the Biggins, so even though they got, painfully pincushioned, they still paid for themselves. Same can't be said of the Black Orcs, though, who really had a tough time of things. Marathi getting some nice damage value in, but a lot of the damage value obviously coming from the Dark Shards. They pay for themselves largely. Same thing with their Repeater Crossbows. I mean, this combination of just the 6 crossbow units is quite good in any combination of numbers. Bolt Throwers, once again, is proven very cost-effective. Fierce Spears do okay. I mean, it's a build, right? Anyway. Yeah. Yeah, this Dark Elves build, I actually kind of like it quite a bit, to be honest. I mean, you've got a lot of tools here. I might option in a couple of heroes. I'm not really sure what I would cut, to be honest, but I'd have to think about it a little bit. But fun one nonetheless. So we'll go ahead and go to Game 3 between these two. And no need to hide the spoilies at this point. Just get straight to it. It's Skaven versus Dwarfs. So let's see what they can do. Double Doom Wheel. We've got Quick Head Taker, an Assassin, Plague Furnace, 4 Death Runners, 4 Slingers, a whole bunch of chaff, a single Clan Rat. The Engineer plus Thorek Ironbrow, quite strong. On the other side, we've got, yeah, some Thunderers here, Grudge Thrower, Slayers, bunch of Dwarf Warriors, Miners with blasting charges. The Dwarf build, a single Gyro as well, Brimstone gun style. We'll fast forward as they approach. Yes, double Doom Wheel versus Dwarfs. Without the DLCs, I do feel that Skaven are still pretty strong in this matchup. I mean, you've still got Death Runners, you've still got Queek, you've still got Doom Wheels. A number of your strong tools are still present in this matchup. A couple of the Slingers were detached to pressure the Gyro, which is good. These other Slingers, though, should try and come forward and get within range to take out the Grudge Thrower crew if they can. Blasting charges are a very real threat. They're going to be mostly used on just the chaff, which is fine, but the rest of the Skaven army is a little bit late in getting into combat. Look at this concave of guns, man, just so painful for the Plague Priest. Yeah, the unfortunate situation with the timing not being quite there. These Death Runners definitely needed to try and get in and maybe get to those handguns before the big expensive single entity came in, but it was going to be tricky regardless. Queek gets in there, but man, that Plague Priest just gets flash bombed, just absolutely shredded by guns. The two Doom Wheels do come in on the flank, though, mostly unopposed. We've also got Death Runners coming in. Nice Fire Ring of Thor. It doesn't make the best contact, but there's something there. And, yeah. The chaff units all get routed off pretty quickly, and, oh man, the poor Plague Priest just gets straight up destroyed. So that's not the best situation, but we'll see what the Skaven can salvage here. Queek's still fighting in the center. He's mostly surrounded by Slayers at this point. He's going to be taking some HP damage, but he'll also be dishing out some pretty significant damage as well. The Doom Wheel's coming back into the fight, and the Death Runners are starting to get loose already. Massacred one unit of Miners. Now moving on to the next. You can see the Slingers did eventually come in and get in a range of the Grudge Thrower. That's good. It's definitely what they need to be doing. Yeah, this Doom Wheel getting a nice side charge into those Thunderers, charging into those Dwarf Warriors here as well. Rune of Speed, going to buff the melee attack of all these Miners and other units that are fighting Queek. Do a little bit of extra HP damage. The Death Runners, I mean, one thing is they kill Dwarf units so fast that you have to be on top of your micro to keep them back. And there they are coming back over into the fight. Queek does need some support here, though. So, like, one Death Runner probably should detach, try and get around and get to Queek, or else he could run in, get to where the Doom Wheel is. The Doom Wheels could also come to him. But so far, the Dwarven Helm's Deep is doing a good job of holding. Queek hasn't been able to get back and get to any of the characters to try and assassinate them. He's been bogged down in this big blob for most of the match, which is not ideal. But the Death Runners definitely making their presence felt. Starting to blend through this backline, starting to get into the Thunderers here. Doom Wheel also taking significant damage, but dishing it out. Where's the other Doom Wheel? Might be overchasing a little bit somewhere, but I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, it actually got routed off. That's unfortunate. I don't know what exactly was doing damage. Must have been Thunderers there. But the Brimstone guns come through. They're obviously going to be pretty good against the Doom Wheel as well. Nice Rune of Wrath and Ruin there on the Skaven Slave Slingers. Yes. Exactly, Way. Queek's a screamer, if you didn't know, and he's still stuck in this blob here. Another nasty Fire Ring of Thori gets through on those Death Runners. Death Runners continuing to just eat Miners for breakfast, but there's so much Dwarven infantry for them to try and get through at this point. Grudge Thrower's almost been shut down by Slingers, but the loss of leadership here for the Skaven is going to be pretty impactful, I think. Had he been able to reinforce Queek and, like, you know, use Queek in combination with the Death Runners, that might have made a difference here, but it was definitely tough. Losing that Plague Furnace so early on in the battle, man, just the Dwarven Thunder line is so strong here. And without mortars or, you know, some of the other super long-range units to try and pressure them away, mortars, Giselles, Warp Lightning Cannons, it's tough. Dwarfs can just kind of sit and cackle in their defensive positions, but we'll see. Death Runners are still fighting. They're not giving up the fight yet. We've also got this Doom Wheel still fighting here. It's going to get a Flash Bomb, but Queek and the Assassin will also come back from route. Ooh, nasty blasting charges. Don't do that much damage, actually. But the Slingers are going to continue firing here. They've got bead on the Thunderers. I just don't know. The Death Runners are pretty low at this point, but they could get in and finish off the Thunderers, maybe. I mean, the Skaven are not looking great, but oh, that's not good. Squeak, yeah. Squeak getting finished off by the gyrocopters, no doubt squeaking the whole time and screaming as he gets burned alive by the, brimstones. But now the Death Runners are finally getting into the Thunderers. And these Death Runners' kill totals are probably absolutely insane. Thorek, though, does have magic attacks, and his splash is good enough that he can do some pretty significant damage to said Death Runners. Another nice Fire Ring of Thori there, just hits a whole bunch of Skaven, and the leadership damage at this point is enough that, unfortunately, the Skaven are going to hit army losses. A little bit prematurely there, but, again, I think not reinforcing Queek in time was the biggest issue. Just detaching one of those Death Runners that was on that flank to rear charge that blob might have been able to spring him loose, maybe using the Doom Wheel in tandem as well. And then, yeah, if Squeak and the Assassin get a hold of those dwarven characters, I think that's game over for the Dwarfs. But a very fun one nonetheless. I mean, that is 2 series. My brother was defeated 2-1, which is admirable. I mean, at least he was able to get some close games, put up a good fight. I'm not going to show the other series just because, out of respect for Dame Offensive, it was a little bit one-sided for my brother. So she's another, content creator for Total War. Out of respect for her, I'm not going to show those games. But just know that my brother did win one series 2-0 against her. So overall performance, I would say very good, considering he's never played multiplayer before. Mercy is, a content creator. Granted, not a multiplayer content creator, but still. Ree was also being trained by Falcon, who's, in my opinion, the best player of Total War Warhammer of all time. So I would say, for my brother, super proud of his performance. Did a great job in all of his games, and considering he's new to multiplayer, he's definitely got a good amount of natural talent, and a lot of that's also probably experience playing a ton of campaigns over time, but he did very well in all of his battles, I have to say. Nothing that couldn't be coached up, but in this battle, Death Runner is definitely a bright spot. The other parts of the army had a little bit of a tough time. That Grudge Thrower, man, almost 200 kills and didn't even pay for half of itself, which is kind of hilarious. A lot of these units will be true of, but the Thunderers were definitely a big value. 3 Thunderers in a giant concave, just shredding everything. The rest of the army kind of just plays off of that, right? They all sacrifice themselves so that the Thunderers could live. Again, arguably illegal build with all these miners, but that's fine. Right, back to the gym. Cue the montage music. Yes. Yeah, Mercy did a great job with his gun lines, for sure. So, it was enough to win him the series overall. And I believe Ree actually went on to win the total tournament. So, yeah, it was like Mercy. It was like Ree, Mercy, and then my brother as like a 1, 2, 3 in their group, and they were all within 3 points of each other. It was very, very close. So, an awesome performance. Definitely great one. So now we're just going to go on to the actual community replays. Now that we've finished off the replays that I had to show for the family. So we're going to go on and get to, well, let's see here. Let's start with this one. This replay was from, let me just make sure, since the name doesn't always match. This is Tactical Lich. Okay, so he sent me a few replays of Lizard Moses. We've got Tehenowin here on his giant, Stegodon Hot Rod here. We've got Legion of Chocolates. Looks like a Rev Crystal as well. A couple of Skink Chiefs up in the air. Cold One Spear Riders. Some Red Crests. Javs. More Cold One Spear Riders up against the Empire. Interesting choice. I mean, the ancient Steg, Engine of the Gods, is definitely vulnerable against the Empire's armor-piercing missiles. We've got a steam tank here and some huntsmen. Some swordsmen, Marcus Wolfheart, Celestial Wizard, Spearman with shields, a single Empire Knight, halberds out on the flank. So pretty interesting Empire build, quite wide. The huntsmen are okay. Generally, I prefer even crossbowmen or handgunners in this matchup, just because the armor of Pistillodons especially, but even Stegodons, is a little bit too much to get through as effectively without armor debuffs, which does he have? He does not have Curse the Midnight Wind on the Celestial Wizard. That's okay. Legalize 10 miners. Yeah. I think 8 miners is actually legal. You might be right. But anyway. Huntsman Fire definitely looking pretty scary, but at the same time, it's just going into a lot of low-tier infantry at this point, so not too bad. The Skink Chiefs up in the air will have to be careful. They count as large targets on their pterodons, so the Huntsman will be pretty dangerous for them. But infantry-wise, this fight should go a little bit of a wash, to be honest. It's hard to say. You can see the Red Crest charging uphill into the Swordsmen. Don't actually do all that well, especially with the Huntsman supporting fire. But over here on the flanks, Javelins going straight into the Halberdiers. Some really cost-effective damage right there. With those little precursor volleys, they can then charge in and possibly clean up the unit. We'll see. But Tehenwin just kind of holding back at this point. Trying to decide where and when to attack. There's not a ton of anti-large here, so he kind of can just go straight up the pipe. I mean, Marcus is threatening, but his burst damage isn't a ton, so as long as you can get through and shut this whole pocket down quickly enough. But ooh, magic missile. Tehenwin already lost half of his HP though. That is pretty dangerous. Legion of Chocolates missile resistance buffs might be on cooldown for the moment, but Manticore summon now being popped as Tehenwin is thinking about charging. Oh man, this is going to be a Comet? Is this really a wild Comet? I don't think I've seen someone actually take the Comet spell and use it, and it is going to land! Oh man, that's really good value there. Here comes the Orbital Strike from Tehenwin. The massive, sci-fi bombardment comes in. Death Laser is going to rip apart some Huntsmen, do some pretty good damage to the Spearmen with shields, also kind of force them out of position as well. So Lizardmen definitely assaulting pretty heavily on this flank. They've broken up a number of units out on the other flank as well. A little bit of rogue chain lightning going off. And the Empire has a position of strength, but not really capitalizing too much as the Red Crest move in. Summon Manticore moves in. The Old One Spear Riders also running down a lot of the Huntsmen at this point, so the Lizard Rush gets home. Tehenwin taking more than half his HP damage on the approach, but now that he's in melee combat, there's not actually much that can threaten him, so, successful task of getting into combat without dying. Marcus there probably just hit his own steam tank, which is fine. I mean, doesn't have that much of a hitbox. Like, you definitely have to aim straight for Tehenwin himself. The Red Crystal can also block some of those shots there. Feral Manticore summon being pulled up by Tehenwin. The extra little bit of Winds of Magic regeneration that you get from the Engine of the Gods does help. You get the Manticore summons off at least a little bit closer together. Now that there are 20 Winds of Magic, they're going to charge down. Manticore lands, try and get some terror on those Huntsmen. The Rev Crystal going after Marcus in melee is also pretty good. The other Cold One Spear Riders coming in to try and charge him up, keep his mass locked in. Legion of Chocolates, Whistle's Wild Form on them, give him some extra weapon strength, put him up to 105 armor. Wow, just awesome little synergy buff there. Extra weapon strength will help against the steam tank a little bit, but it doesn't look like they're probably gonna, it looks like they do drop their attack order, unfortunately. That being said, things are well in favor of the Lizardmen at this point. Ah, yes. The Engine of the Gods. Tehenwin waving his plaque around, shouting about the sun, something... Who knows? You think Tehenwin is a flat earther? I know that's very random, but I just thought of that. Here we go. Cold One Spear Riders getting into those Empire Knights. Cold One Spear Riders are just so cost-effective. In general, the Lizard Cavalry is some of the best in the game secretly. Just in terms of being good armor piercing. Like, they don't trade well into chaff infantry for the most part, but this is a little bit dangerous for Tehenwin. He's trading into halberds, which is not ideal, but it's fine. Oh. Looks like he maybe prematurely blew his load there. There we go. For real this time. Here comes the orbital bombardment. Just goes straight through Tehenwin himself. And that laser is going to cut down all the halberds that were fighting him, immediately leading to a massive terror rout. So, potential area of comeback for the Empire is unfortunately not going to be so. Steam Tank also just getting ground down by Legion of Chocolates still. Marcus out in the distance just being made into a chew toy by the Rev Crystal. Good old Gary. It's just having a grand old time just punting. Just straight up punting. Poor Marcus across the field. He has literally been turned into a ball. Bombardment there. One final Celestial Bombardment. Omina Cassadora does the thing. But anyway, that's going to be victory. Big thanks to Tactical Lich for sending that one in. I'd love to see me some Tehenuin on his laser dino. And he does get some pretty good damage value. I mean, he's super expensive to take on this. If you add in the Manticore's damage values, maybe he pays for himself. It's hard to say. 10,000 damage dealt overall, though, is definitely nothing to sneeze at. The Skink Chiefs are also just here. I mean, they're nice. They don't do that much, but they're definitely here. The Red Crests, in this kind of a rush situation, Red Crests actually trade pretty effectively. They're not an amazing one-to-one trade versus Empire State troops, but with the right support, they can do just fine. The Cold One Spear Riders were awesome. They're so good in this matchup. That anti-large AP just very, very scary for anyone to deal with. Likewise, the Rev Crystal, 1393, gets back its value in terms of damage, which the Rev Crystals don't always. You know, you kind of just bring it for the healing, right? But it did run over Marcus a little bit there, which I think is where most of that value came from. Marcus himself gets some okay value, but doesn't have time to sit and shoot like he needs to. This build definitely wants to sit and shoot for some time, but just sort of lacking in mass to try and hold back a concerted Lizardman rush. The Steam Tank does get some pretty good value, but I think this is too much. Again, I would arguably maybe just trade all of these Huntsmen out for Crossbowmen, and then that would free you up, I don't know, a couple of hundred extra points. Maybe you have enough for like one extra Empire Knight, maybe even just some Pistoliers to provide some screen, something to chase routing units. Hard to say. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe a hero, like a Warrior Priest would be nice for helping to support your troops, maybe clear out some of that skink chaff. But anyway, fun stuff. He thinks the Earth is black-shaped. Yes, Miguel. That's perfect. I know, right, Stormrunner? Giving myself a little tongue twister here. But anyway, a fun one. Big thanks to Tactical Lich for sending that one in. Okay, let's go to the next one. This one is from Lenorm. Yes, he's got his High Elves into Wood Elves. So, looks like a Lariel. Wow, very straightforward build. Lariel, 3 Lothran Seaguard with shields, 4 Silverin Guards, 2 Dragon Princes, and an Arcane Phoenix. Very small build, but should be decent. The ROR Stags are going to have a tough time wherever they're at, mostly because there's a lot of magic damage here, actually, for the High Elves. Got a couple of Deepwood Scouts, some Blade Riders with Spears in the little forest contingent there, some Eternal Guards with shields up front, Hagbane Tips, and Starfire Shafts mixed for the Archer line, and we've got Dryka and 2 Waystalkers, so pretty decent construction of build, I would say, overall, but most people would think, you know, High Elves don't really have a lot of magic damage innately, which is to a degree true, but Arcane Phoenixes being their best monster, in my opinion, does make them a pretty common pick in a number of matchups, in a lot of matchups, actually. So it's something you may see, and obviously it can do magic damage. Alariel, likewise, this is the more common pick of magic damage, and Alariel's good in every single matchup, right? So there's Boon of Isha, immune to psychology, and magical damage in an AoE, so really all she needs to do is just drop in wherever the Lost Sylvan Knights are fighting, and she can give all of her troops magic damage, and they'll just get torn apart in seconds. Especially, like, Dragon Princes countercharging in with that magic damage will be nasty, so they'll definitely take some damage in return, don't get me wrong, but it could be problems. The counter to Wood Elves' obnoxious range is more shields. True. Yeah, I mean, Way is 100% correct. Less elves equals better, basically, right? Like, with most builds, the inverse like number of elves you have in your build, the better your build is. That's mostly true of high elves, less so of wood elves. I mean, wood elves, I mean, Zyphos just absolutely rocked my world earlier with a wide build. But anyway. Looks like we got a little bit of a penumbral pendulum going down, wrecking some of those Lothern Seaguard. They don't have a whole lot of models to give, so the Wood Elves just kind of standing off and shooting is probably the right call at this point. Alariel's taking some damage from the Waystalkers. The Arcane Phoenix really needs to get in there. The Dragon Princes need to get in there. But, I mean, the Wood Elves just way more volume of shooting here. Lothern Seaguard, even with the shields, are going to suffer pretty badly, but let's see. Lariel drops the healing cone. She's going to stand in it and try and receive some of that. We will actually get some of the healing. And, yeah, a little bit of Earthblood as well. This unit of Lothern Seaguard does get quite a bit of healing also. Yeah, they've lost a lot of models, so they can definitely give quite a bit of healing still. But the melee combat here, spears on spears, it's going to take forever for either faction to really make any sort of impact. But Dragon Prince is just kind of hanging back at this point. The Starfire Shafts really will do absolutely nothing to them, so they don't need to worry too much about charging into this kind of bow position here. But Dragon Princes do help the one Spearman win out. Here comes the Lost Sylvan Knights. Let's see if Alariel gets into position to get her Dragon Princess the magic damage. It looks like she is coming over now. We'll keep the unit cards up. Oh, is she going to throw a banishment in here? Potentially risky. Oh, no, it's a Pit of Shades from Dryka. Okay, that's going to do quite a bit of friendly fire, but you see once Alariel drops in, all those Dragon Princes start dealing magic damage. We've got the Phoenix in here as well. This is a horrendous engagement for the Lost Sylvan Knights. They are going to lose most of their models almost instantly, so not a great situation for them to be in. The Dragon Prince is prevailing. Again, taking some significant damage. Alariel almost gets fully killed, actually, but, I mean, she doesn't really need to do a lot more at this point. The Dragon Princes, they stay alive, can pretty much run over the rest of this build here. You can see they do get a charge into those Blade Guards. And this map has quite the yellow scheme here. But, sorry guys, just a call there. Anyway, I'm gonna have to make a real quick phone call, take like a 2-minute break after this battle. But anyway, Dragon Prince is getting through. The one unit does get routed off though, so I mean the mobility for the High Elves just really isn't there. Alariel likewise is unlikely to come back, but let's see. These Dragon Princes will try and chase to get some of these routing units off the field. Lothern Seaguard still somehow alive. The Glade Riders, Malevolent Dryads getting in. Oh, these are actual Malevolent Dryads. Oh yeah, the summon, that's right. I was like, hang on a minute. So the summon from Dryka just chasing those Lothern Seaguard around. We do have some more Silvern Guard getting into combat, and oh man, another nasty Pit of Shades here. Silvern Guard's magic resistance will help them somewhat, but they are still going to take significant damage from that spell there, so nasty, nasty Dryka. We'll see. This Dragon Prince, though, still 35 models, quite a bit of HP left. It does look like Alariel came back. She's going to pop her healing on the Arcane Phoenix, since she's already at her healing cap. As long as she just kind of trundles around there in the distance and doesn't overcommit, she should be okay. Deepwood Scout's going to get ridden down by the Dragon Princes. I don't think they actually had a charge order on the Deepwood Scouts themselves, but those Starfire Shafts doing a minimal amount of damage. I mean, technically they will do at least like 1 damage per shot, right? But another Earthblood there being used. Healing the Dragon Prince is definitely the right call at this point. They're going to come in with the Arcane Phoenix in tandem. And these two units working together can basically finish off the rest of the Wood Elf army. Oh man, yeah, that Waystalker did get a couple of shots in there, but he's going to now eat damage from Phoenix, it looks like. Dragon Prince is coming in to try and finish off these archers. Yes, yes. I love cavalry charges in Total War Warhammer. Dragon Princes, probably not even in my top 5, but certainly very cool. And they're gonna just wreck these poor Wood Elves. Wood Elves, I mean, they probably deserve it, let's be honest. But Drake was also still fighting there in the distance, grinding down some of the spears. Whatever happened to the Phoenix? Is the Phoenix still hanging around somewhere? Oh yeah, there it is. Obviously, still finishing off the Waystalker. Both Waystalkers almost out of ammunition anyway. But let's see. Dragon Prince is pulling away, pulling up and around, getting ready for a new charge. Right, order pizza. Oh, that sounds good, Zensky. You know, it's been like probably a month plus since I've actually had pizza, so I'm probably also gonna get a pizza after this. Yeah. Let's see. The Phoenix, I think, just needs to drop Dryka at this point. I mean, the flaming magic damage and the high DPS of the Phoenix means that, yeah, Dryka's going to have a bad time against it. So, ooh, big ol' hit there. Another big hit potential there. Let's see, Dryka trying to flee away from the nasty murder Firebird. But Phoenix deciding to just get back up in the air, play it safe. Ooh, a nice bit of shades. Those look like the Dragon Princes are going to be able to mostly escape. A few of the unit models do get caught up there, which is unfortunate, but the Phoenix now turns, and the Phoenix cares not, just going to charge straight into the pit of shades. What an awesome shot, just literally flies directly through it. Straight into Dryka. Little hit and run charge there. Dryka took a ton of damage on that charge. So, Dragon Prince is safely pulling away. Still 31 models alive. Balance power surprisingly quite close still. I'm kind of baffled by that, to be honest. But Sea Guards here is in this position to continue firing, picking out some more of those tattered archers. The Elven archers, Wood Elven archers are almost out of ammunition. High Elves still have a little bit left on these Sea Guards. But Dryka, wherever she goes, is just going to be in mortal danger. Yes. Beautiful Arcane Phoenix coming in. Terror routes immediately away the Eternal Guards, but not wanting to stand and fight against Dryka, which is honestly smart. I mean, a 58 charge on the Arcane Phoenix is definitely impactful enough that you'd want to continue to use that. Dragon Princes, they're going to come in and probably shut down what's left of this infantry, but I would think just Dragon Princes get a surround on Dryka, the Arcane Phoenix comes in, that should be all she wrote. I love Dryka's attack animations, though. Send those thorns flying out everywhere. Oh, no. Oh, no, Dryka. Just gets bodied right there. And, like, one more attack should finish it off here, I would think. Phoenix just goes straight into the Eternal Guard anyway. Let's keep it close, though. Cinematic shots of these Dragon Princes. Lances out. Borisorian. Yeah, all elves deserve beatings, to be honest, but especially Dark Elves. There goes Dryka, I would think. Yep, and there's army losses. So, GG, big thanks to Norman for sending that one in. That was a fun one. Yeah, the Dragon Prince is carrying some huge value. 2,000 damage value on one of them. Absolutely insane. Lariel gets just absolute bejesus shot out of her, but manages to survive. Yeah, Silverin Guards paying out some value back as well. Sea Guards, despite the fact they also faced a very tough situation, were able to pay out. And the Arcane Phoenix, 2,500 damage value. These things are so good. So good right now. Really, best monster for the High Elves. I'll continue to say that until it proves otherwise. Look at the Waystalkers, though, man. 2,000 damage value plus on both of them for a hero that costs, like, what is it, 600 base, something like that. Absolutely insane. Dryka also doing great. Eternal Guards with shields here, getting some good value back. The Glade Guards had a little bit of a tough time. One of them pays for themselves. Deepwood Scouts, same thing. One of them does pay for themselves. But those Sylvan Knights, man, Sylvan Knights are very good in the right situation, but boy, did they get hard countered by the right tools. Anyway, let me go ahead and just pop on a break real quick. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll have some more community replays coming up right after this. Ah, look at that timing. I am back just in time for that song to end. Make a quick phone call to the significant other. Just check in on things, but... Yes. Yes. Anyway, let's move on to the next replay. What do we got? What do we got? This one is from Inarian, I believe. Yes. I believe, Coops, if you're here, I have one from you. And I want to say, Way, I have one from you also, but I don't know. Anyway, we'll look at it. I'm probably going to go for another hour, 2 hours. We'll see. I do need to do one practice session with Coops tonight, and also take care of a few other things, but anyway. What's this replay doing here? Anyway, look, yes, okay. Just wanted to get everything up and running. Alright, so we've got Gorok. Nice. Wild Gorok pick. Skink Priest of Heaven. Some Red Crests. Some Saurus Spears. A Feral Bastildon. Big old flying Vanguard force. Chameleon Stalkers are not flying, but they are in Vanguard. And then we've got a bunch of Fire Leech Bolas. Very interesting choice. And Gelbloom's Terror. Oh, man. Gelbloom's Terror, I want to love this thing. It's just, it's so hard to use effectively for its cost. Strider and Vanguard. Pretty nice to have on a big, you know, frenzy thing. Whatever, Carnosaur. On the Greenskin side, we've got a Rogue Idol and Grimgore Ironhide, Orc Shaman, Orc Boar Boy Biggins. We've got some Stone Trolls, Savage Orcs. No ranged tools besides the Biggin, though, which means these Fire Leech Bolas, I mean, I guess they are technically the Spider Rider Archers, right? But that means the Fire Leech Bolas can get in and just basically just grenade launch, right? Looks like they did lose a model. Oh, there are some Night Goblin Archers just sneaking past me. Not even the, ooh, man, Rock Drop, too, just goes straight after the Orc Boar Biggins for the unit that was going to get routed off quickly there, so I like that. With all this fire, with this Vanguard sort of fire poke initially, it would have been interesting to see maybe a Fire Slon just like throwing fireballs at a distance while the Stalkers and the Fire Leech Bolas come in, get that little bit of extra Kindle Flame. Not that it would matter that much, but the Fire Leech Bolas are definitely doing some significant damage, dropping some more rocks here. That other unit should come back. Yeah, I mean, they got routed, but I don't even know. They might have only lost one unit model, so... That's fine. The Rogue Idol, though, some nasty shots there in the center. Actually, might have hit Gorok directly, but he does not care. Spoiler alert. Probably Nurglings. Nurglings look really, really good, but Slaanesh also, it depends on how much the Marauders of Slaanesh cost, but they're probably going to be really good low-tier troops. Yeah, I might go with either Nurgle or Slaanesh. I do think the Cathayan troops will be numerous. I don't think they'll be super strong, but it's hard to say. Anyway, Gorok mixed it up directly with Grimgore. They're trying to have a mano-a-mano fight, but, I mean, there's Saurus Spears, there's Boar Boy Biggins trying to, you know, interrupt things. Gorok is just in defensive stance. There he goes, little shield bash. So those two are going to duke it out right now, supporting on both sides. The Greenskin support's probably going to lose out here. It's hard to say, but Gelbloom's Terror also comes in, gets the Shield of Aeons up to 155 armor. That's a nice synergy right there. Yeah, going up against the Biggin here, this Regiment Renowned Rogue Idol. The Gelbloom's Terror isn't taking any attacks directly back, but a nice Brain Burster going after the Saurus Spears there. The Savage Orc Biggins are still fighting. The Fire Leech Bolas, though, are really making their presence felt. And a nice Chain Lightning coming in on those Savage Orcs and the Spider Rider Archers in the distance there, generating some really nice value. The Lisbons, the rest of their army had been broken up all in this pocket, but man, Grimgore's so far trading pretty evenly with Gorok. Maybe actually out-trading him ever so slightly, but let's get in on Cinematic Cam at the foot of the Biggin. As more Fire Leech Bolas are tossed in here. Grimgore. Man, this is an awesome replay. Grimgore versus Gorok. I love it. Gelbloom's Terror in the background versus the Biggin. So far, Gelbloom's Terror is definitely winning out, must be said. Here comes the Foot of Gork, though. Final throw from the Orc Shaman to try and finish off. Does a ton of damage. He gets routed, but also the Saurus Spears get terrified. You can see once Gelbloom's Terror starts taking hits, I mean, almost 1,000 weapon strength for the big and just a huge, I was going to say meat fist, but it's literally a stone fist to the face. So, the duels of the fates here as these guys continue to duke it out. Kaijus and the characters side by side. I'm very surprised, though, with how well the Gelbloom's Terror has been doing here. Maybe a Harmonic Convergence also on Gorok, Stand Your Ground, used directly after. And the Fire Leech Bolas all still healthy, used up almost all their ammunition here, ripping apart Savage Orc Biggins. It does look like Lizardmen are going to take lead on the balance of power as the Biggins gone. Grimgor starts to give up the fight as well, and very quickly things turn in favor of the Lizardmen. What a game, man. Super, super fun one. Big thanks to Anarian for sending that one in. Right? The Biggin makes the Carnosaur look tiny. Totally. Totally. And Gorok getting in to try and finish Grimgor. Oh no, the Skink Priest. The Skink Priest is getting absolutely bullied. But Gorok versus Grimgor, definitely a fun matchup. Oh, here comes Gelbloom's Terror. Just getting a nice attack on Grimgor there, utilizing its massive charge. I mean, I say massive charge. I do think it's, yeah, 55 charge bonus. Definitely pretty solid with that Frenzy. Shield of Aeons, too. I love the synergy on that. Giving this thing expert charge defense and 155 armor. Insane. Absolutely insane. Gorok barely survives to 159 HP, getting the killing blow on Grimgor. He actually just straight up fells Grimgor for the killing blow there. And what's still fighting? No, there can't be anything left fighting for the Greenskins, surely. Some Stone Trolls? What are these Savage Orcs gonna do? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, the Biggin does hit hard when it hits, but that's a big if it hits, right? Credit to Anarian there. I love the use of that. I do think RNG-wise, it could have maybe gone south for him, but a lot of that also comes down to the support. Great use of Fire Leech Bolas. They all pay for themselves, I would imagine. Yep. I really like that against Greenskins. I hadn't really considered, but it does make sense. Savage Orc Biggins are some of the most threatening units you can face. I don't know how they would do against Stone Trolls, but they'll trade really well against the Greenskin Skirmish Cavalry as well, right? From what we saw there. Plus the drop rocks, so love it. Yeah, what a bro, truly. Gorok comes in, gets some pretty good value, gets beat up pretty hard, but generally has a great time. Red Crest do okay, Stalkers also, Saurus, all kind of just here. Gelbloom's Terror, though, almost 2,500 damage value, 10,000 damage dealt overall. A lot of the HP of the Biggin ends up going into it. The Biggin does not pay for itself. The Spider Riders do. The Infantry does not, though. Grimgor, pretty decent. Yeah, 3,418 damage value on Grimgor. He definitely paid for himself, but the rest of the army kind of let him down, unfortunately. So let's go to the next replay. Let's see here. Yes. This one is from the Emperor, another patron of mine. The Empire versus Beastmen, and Hell Pit is the map too, which this map can be a little bit tough for certain factions, but let's see what he can do here. Let's see what he can do here. 5 Flagellants, including the Regiment of Renown Tattersouls, is awesome. I love the 5 Free Company, including the ROR as well, so very straightforward. I mean, it's Flagellants and Free Co., 2 Knights Blazing Sun, 2 Pistoliers, Spearmen, Heaven's Caster, and Marcus Wolfart. That's twice today we've seen the Lore of Heaven's Caster for Empire, which is a fairly unusual pick. He did take the lore attributes, so might have been expecting some Feral Manticore play here, but instead, we've got Harpies, got Torox the Brass Bull and a Gore Bull, a British lore of Beasts, Ungor Raiders, Ungor Spearman Herd, some Gore Herd with Shields, a couple of Tuskor Chariots, some Doggos. Nice wide Beastman build. Going to be bringing forward the Assault. Spearman on Spearman already in the front line. Love to see that. And the Flagellants will trade very well against all of the Beastmen light infantry. Like Gords with shields, I think would just straight up lose to Flagellants if I remember correctly. But the Free Company will also help contribute some extra damage in here as well. This hill position also sort of favors the Empire. They do have a little bit of a slope to try and fight down. So great to see that. Knights of the Blazing Sun moving in. Looks like they're going to charge through the back of their own units into the Zungor Spearmen. Not going to be the most efficient charge, but they will do something. Going to get counter-charged a little bit by those chariots. But the Chain Lightning, man, did somebody recently make a video about Chain Lightning? Because, wow, that is a really good use of that Chain Lightning there. Just got a ton of kills. Yeah, 34 kills, some nice damage value. I mean, mostly low-tier units, but you got to love the blob damage there. Speaking of blob, Gorbel and Torok's Brass Bolt getting in here. Curse the Midnight Wind on them, debuffing their melee attack and armor ever so slightly, but soon they will charge out of the area of effect. There's the net, though, from Marcus. Nets all those units. Sterling's Revenge with their AP damage moving into a position to just shred Torox. Great firing concave there. Meanwhile, over here, Flagellants and Free Company and the Pistoliers and the Empire Knights, Knights of the Blazing Sun even, clearing out this flank. The other opposite flank, though, is being swarmed by Hounds. Knights of the Blazing Sun are having a tough time clearing through all of them, even with the support of those Pistoliers. But man, oh man, did Torox get absolutely wrecked by the Sterling's Revenge right there. Torox, of course, also taking some damage from Marcus. The Gorbel charges through, tries to get at Marcus, but there is a massive amount of Empire troops able to respond here. Celestial Wizard might even dive in himself. Pistoliers getting some nice concave, even though Gorbel, again, has very heavy armor at 100. Pistoliers, with their volume and decent enough AP, will still be able to deal with that. Free Company fighting Goreherds, I mean, they'll lose, but they'll hold long enough. Likewise, these Knights of Blazing Sun still trying to clear out what's left of the Hounds out on that flank. Certainly being very, very annoying. I love this Empire build, though. Manticore going after Marcus is a danger for him, but he does have the Pistoliers to be able to screen. They should be able to clear out those Harpies and the Manticore in no time. Yeah, Sterling's Revenge fighting the Tuskor Chariots in prolonged melee combat is fine, as long as the Tuskor Chariots aren't aggressively cycle charging, which they definitely should be, like these other units are. Gorbel also get into the Knights. That's a great use for him. Free Company, I mean, they're not going to do a ton. They certainly are a great unit, kind of in terms of hybrid missile melee infantry, but they're not world beaters by any means. They are continuing to hold, though, which is pretty impressive. Their leadership's quite low at this point, but, man, look at that fire on the Warhounds there as they kind of pull back. One great benefit of Free Company is the ability to fire while advancing. Speaking of advancing, Tattersoul is just going straight into this concave of Ungor Raiders there. There's a lot of volume of fire, not being necessarily dedicated directly to the Flagellants there. But where did Torox get off to? He's still out here fighting with some of these Flagellants and the Knights over on the far side. He's kind of reunified with Gorbel, the Chariots, Goreherds with shields. Got a little bit of a pocket of strength here. Starting to build up some presence to try and get back in this game, but Marcus has other ideas. He's going to bust out a snipe. Ooh, makes great contact with the scaling damage on Torox there. Another Manticore gets pulled up on a summon, though, so balance power still basically even at this point. There's still a lot of Flagellants, though. Knights of the Blazing Sun also pretty healthy. This unit trying to maybe bail out some of those Free Company. Sterling's Revenge get charged through. Another magic missile from Marcus impacts Gorbel. Does a great job on him. But, oh, this Manticore. Manticore could spell the doom of Marcus Wolfheart. Has to burn a net there. Is forced to do so. Use the Flagellants to screen and then try and move away. Pistoliers. Will the Pistoliers actually get the finish on Torox? Could you imagine how awesome that would be? They're certainly within range to do so. Looks like their shots are going into Gorbel instead, which is unfortunate, but like one volley from both these Pistoliers, solid contact would probably be enough to break Torox. Unfortunately, they just used up the last of their ammunition. So instead, the Pistolier melee charge. Yes, Torox actually turns his back, and the Pistoliers decide that maybe they just should let the Free Company handle that, which is fine. He's down to 500 HP. And the Pistoliers trying to come to bail out Marcus. A couple of volleys in the back there. They're going to charge into melee. Melee Pistoliers are the best, I mean, clearly. Charging these tattered Goreherds as well. Trying to shatter them. Chasing some routing units. Marcus trying to get a position to fire here. He kind of moves around some of the horsemen. And, is he actually going to... Oh, that's a pretty big mistake. It had a movement order instead of an attack order, so Marcus just kind of walks up to the Gorbel. Thankfully, the Celestial Wizard is here to try and get a charge in the rear. Sterling's Revenge also get a firing position, and that should be enough to spell doom for Gorbel. Torox also ended up getting finished off by a free company there, and it's just too much for the Beastmen. Awesome build from the Emperor. Big thanks for sending that one in. That was that's great replay. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good assessment, Tenebrafication. Yeah, let's go with that. I'll grab one of them, Stormrunner. I saw that you put those in at the last second, and I will... I think I might have gotten one of them already, but I will. Let's see. Greenskins versus Chaos Spider Dragon. That sounds like right up my alley, so I'll grab that one for you. We can definitely review that here. I've got a few more to get through. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more replays probably to get through, so... Anyway... yeah, Marcus survives just barely. The Flagellants definitely carried pretty hard here. I love Flagellants in this matchup. Free Company likewise. A few of them pay for themselves, a few of them do not. The Sterling's Revenge, though, they're the ones that did the majority of the damage to Torox, so him getting, you know, just opened up on by them. Super impactful. Knights of the Blazing Sun do a good job clearing through lots of the chaff. Pistoliers, always cost-effective if they use all their ammunition. Torox was limited very well. Gorbel actually did even better than him. As far as the rest of the build, I mean, obviously Summoned Manticores also provide quite a bit of value. The chariots here, the cheap chariots, are really good against the Empire. The sort of low-tier 750 cost chariots for any faction are good against the Empire. That's certainly true of the Beastmen. Yeah, doggos don't quite chase enough routing units. Harpies are also just kind of here. But anyway, whoops, I smacked my mic stand. Apologies about that. Cool. Cool. So, let's go to... Did it actually save in here? Hey, Alex coming in with a $5 Canadian style. Thank you for continuing to run Warhammer content, try to get into AoE 4 stuff, bought the game and hate it, still love Warhammer, great content. You know, I enjoy Age of Empires 4, I just don't know that I can really play the multiplayer of it super effectively, so I kind of agree with your sentiment there to a degree, but thank you. Yeah, I'm going to keep doing the Warhammer content. I know there certainly is a need to be satisfied for a lot of people, right, with Warhammer-related content, so... Where did I save this? Oh, it is here. Okay, it's just probably got to reload. Okay. We'll actually go straight to this one because Stormrunner's here and because we haven't seen any Warriors of Chaos yet. Right off the bat, this build is wild and I love it. It's a Sorcerer on the Dragon, as mentioned in the title of the replay. 3... Forsaken, 1 Chosen with great weapons, very interesting choice. 2 Chaos Knights with lances, again, very interesting choice. And we've got some Skirmish Cavs as well, some Marauder Horsemen and some Doggos out on each flank. 6 Skirmish Cav for Greenskins is to be expected, including the main team Marauders. Also got a Goblin Great Shaman up on the Spider, a couple of Stone Trolls, some Orc Boys, Black Orcs, and 8 Peak Loons in the center. Fairly straightforward builds. Yeah, the fire, I'm assuming, a lore of metal, actually. Okay, so that's a little different. Typically, because the Chaos Dragon does fire damage, you'll often see the Sorcerer lore of fire on the dragon to get some self-synergy. But... I kind of agree. You know, for me, I love building in general in games, right? Like, regardless of the game, whether it's Fallout 4, whether it's Stronghold, whether it's Minecraft, you know, No Man's Sky, whatever the game is, I love building. And I also love RTS games, commanding giant battles and whatnot, but I have a hard time linking those two things together. Like, for me, I was never really into the multiplayer of, like, StarCraft, like Age of Empires, that kind of stuff, where you're base building and fighting at the same time. Like, Stronghold, again, if there was a, like, robust multiplayer scene for Stronghold, maybe I would play that one. Because it's, like, a lot more skewed towards building than fighting, I would say. But anyway, out on this flank here, the Greenskins Light Cavalry does get broken up pretty hard by the Horsemen and Hounds. The opposite flank is, you know, a little bit of a mixed bag. The Chaos Knights of the Lances is definitely going on a little bit of a goose chase there, but thankfully this Chaos Sorcerer, Lord of Metal, can just kind of fly around here, kind of cackle. Oh man, the Chosen with great weapons get into combat too with Black Orcs without having been touched. And this is a pretty ideal situation for them, one of the few units that can just trade straight into Black Orcs and be fine. And not to mention they got a Plague of Rust, so even the little bit of non-armor piercing damage that the Chosen do, 12 non-armor piercing damage, will be going through that much more efficiently as well. Dragon drops the opposite flank using that flaming physical damage to go after the Stone Trolls, get a quick terror out on them, follow up with some, Forsaken. But the Greenskins definitely is a pretty strong presence here with these healthy Black Orcs. While out on the opposite flank, the Chaos Knights are coming back alongside those Marauder Horsemen. But the Dragon staying mobile here, applying that terror across the battlefield, definitely very strong. That's what you want to be doing with those big flying single entities. The Chosen have probably paid for themselves already, just taking out those Black Orcs, but also getting some damage on these Stone Trolls. Have to be careful not to get too wrapped up in these sort of low-tier chaff units, though. If they get surrounded by, like, Orc Boys and have to fight the Stone Trolls at the same time, it's not going to be great. But nice reinforcement. Chaos Knights with Lances getting a huge charge in here. That massive 80 charge bonus just walloping those Stone Trolls. Holy cow, they get melted so fast. Plague of Rust would have been nice right there, too, maybe, just to melt them even faster. But, yeah, the Orc Boys now stand 0 chance in that engagement. But Chaos kind of reforming over on this part of the battlefield. The Greenskins kind of reforming over on this part of the battlefield. Forsaken do have pretty decent leadership. They'll hang around even though they're very tattered. A little Vindictive Glare to apply pressure to the Metal Sorcerer. I didn't catch if he's used any of the breath attacks yet, but we'll see. Chaos Knights get their charge interrupted a little bit here by the 8-peak Loons. They're going to try and disengage. They probably don't want to fight the Spider in prolonged combat, but with the Dragon, maybe they could actually do okay. The Chosen also moving in. Wob and popped, so maybe delay that engagement. Just that little bit of extra. You could see Stormrunner very wisely pulling back the majority of his troops, not over-committing to that melee engagement with that timing push active for the Greenskins. Marauder Horsemen can come back to the fight after shattering those units in the distance there. Some more Marauder Horsemen coming back over here. Another Vindictive Glare, so the Metal Sorcerer definitely on a little bit of a timer here as it pertains to trying to finish off this battle. But let's see. Plague of Rust Overcast does a little bit of miscast damage, not too much, but that will open up these Black Orcs to taking a lot more damage from the Chaos Knight charge here. You can see that the damage coming in is pretty significant. Goblin Great Shaman gets in. Sorcerer Lore of Metal, what is this? Something going off here. Itchy Nuisance, debuffing the melee attack of all these units. Sorcerer is having a hard time. Can he get back up into the air without routing, though? It's not looking great for the Warriors of Chaos at this point. Those Chaos Knights initially get a really good charge, but now, again, just getting completely outmodeled here. But there's a final transmutation, upgraded, been hanging on to those Winds of Magic for quite some time. That will do a ton of damage to everything in this pocket. Probably will result in the Skirmish Cav routing. Might actually route some of these other units. No, not quite. Doesn't quite route the Stone Trolls, but that was a huge amount of damage on a lot of high-value targets. Stone Trolls actually do end up routing. Okay. Marauder Horsemen moving in. This Chosen with great weapons. Also, more than half their unit models still online, so they're going to get a clash with these Black Orcs here. Dark Orcs, yes. And again, I haven't seen any of the breath attacks yet, so I would imagine, yeah, there's a breath attack. Straight on to the Spider, does quite a bit of damage. And then the Dragon charges down. A little bit of Vindictive Glare straight to the face, but the miscast damage, again, does result in the Goblin Great Shaman actually getting routed here. Chosen get into the Black Orcs. 1v1, this is an engagement that will favor the Chosen. So they are now in the stages of cleaning up. A little bit of Searing Doom just to finish things off. Oh yeah, did a little bit of friendly fire, not too much, but yeah, Dragon Sorcerer, less than 600 HP. Pretty safe, though, at this point, just helping to clean up some of those tattered Knight Gobbos. Chaos Knights with their charge should get a little bit of damage in. Let's see. Yep, a couple of little chips of damage there, and all it's going to take to keep that Goblin Great Shaman routed. Really doesn't have great leadership at all. Stone Trolls get instant shattered by the fire damage of the Metal Sorcerer, and that should be all she wrote. So, big thanks to sending that one in. That was an awesome battle, Stormrunner. I love the use of the dragon here, even outside Lore of Fire. Still, that Lore of Metal, very strong. The final transmutation, patience to keep that Winds of Magic, and then use that in the late game to really finish things off. Let's see, is there going to be a Vindictive Glare? If he has the Winds of Magic for a Vindictive Glare, a regular cast of it could maybe finish the Fire Sorcerer here. He does use Crown of Command. Oh, but the Breath Attack comes in. Puts the Goblin Great Shaman down to 386. It'll only take a couple of attack animations to finish it off. Goes down to 2 HP. And that'll be all she wrote. The Spider Shaman falls, and that'll probably instantly kick army losses. Yep, for the Greenskins. The Chaos Sorcerer routes at exactly the same time. Like, you know what? I think I've done my job here. So, awesome one from Stormrunner. Love to see that. Very unusual build, but very, very strong. Yeah, the Chosen with great weapons paid for themselves, which is nice. You don't see that a ton. I mean, you don't see these guys a lot to begin with, so that's fantastic. Huge damage value on the Dragon Sorcerer as well. Carries that match pretty hard. Brought a Horseman. They do a great job. Let's see. Yeah, Forsaken, just kind of here. Fast, high DPS kind of support unit, so that's fine. Spider Shaman also pays for himself. Rest of the build, though, I mean, Black Orcs, not so much. Stone Trolls, one of them does. The Skirmish Cav for the Greenskins, surprisingly mixed bag. I mean, Wolf Riders all do a great job. One of the Spider Riders is pretty lame, but that's okay. AP Loons pay for themselves, so definitely a very close battle. Nice back and forth, but Stormrunner just playing it safe with that dragon in the late game. And utilizing those tools he has to good effect. Very fun one. Thanks. Appreciate that. So now, we've seen quite a bit of Greenskins today. What about Britonia? We have not seen any Britonia yet, so Consul of Rome coming in with an Alberic build. Yes! Yes! Consul, the true hero. True hero of Britonia. Yes, we've got Britonia here, folks. So it's going to be Alberic and the Paladin, both up in the air on Pegasi. No, Griffin, or, sorry, Hippogriff. Got Men-at-Arms, some Spearmen, some Swordsmen, some Polearms, plenty of Peasant Archers as well. Cavs out on the flank. We've got some Grail Guardians and Knights Lionhearted and Questing Knights. So a nice kind of grab bag selection of different Knight types. A couple of Scourge Runners going over there to try and counteract. We've got a Charybdis, very interesting choice. Raven's Heralds up in the air, going to be pretty vulnerable here. Some Fear Spears, a single Blackguard, Marathi also up in the air. Hellbrunei, Dread Spears. I don't know, you know, I just... Let's see, Marathi is going to wish she had the land button, as do these Raven's Heralds. Yeah, they're going to get caught. Spoiler alert. Alberic does have his AoE bonus versus large, so we check on him. He's actually got 38 bonus versus large. I forget. Such a ridiculous anti-large bonus, honestly, on the Pegasus. And then the Paladin, 28 bonus versus large as well. So they're going to be hitting super, super hard against any large targets. Both are making his presence felt, going after the Pox arrows. Probably should switch to single shot and focus on the Knights, but hey, who am I to judge? The Scourge Runner Chariots also come way out over here on the flanks. They're wasting some of their shots on these Spearmen at Arms, which is definitely not ideal. But this fight actually arguably won't go great for Britonia. Even with the Knights, I mean, the Grail Guardians are definitely very solid, but let's see. Charybdis holding strong. The peasant archers come into range to shoot the Reaper bolt throwers, which is once again a great play. Shooting artillery crews with archers is actually quite strong in this game. The men-at-arms with shields coming through as well. Knights get into combat. The Grail Guardians just kind of grounding down some Fear Spears. As to be expected, the peasant mobs get completely destroyed. But Questing Knights can now kind of counter-collapse. Maybe the Knights Lion-Hearted, if they're able to get up and around, use that anti-large bonus to go after the Red Spears. But let's check in the saga of Morathi and the Paladin and the Ravens Heralds, Albric. You know, the Scourge Runners have already used up a lot of their ammunition shooting at basically garbage, but if they are shooting these flying single entities, that's going to be pretty nice. But Morathi does get caught up in the air. Paladin and Albric both getting some big attacks. She's down below half HP. Gonna have to fly back, maybe get on this these men-at-arms here right next to the Charybdis. There's also these halberds in this pocket as well. Definitely running to the hills, trying to get into a situation of safety. A nice Soul Stealer does hit a lot of these calves, but did not dive when she had the opportunity, kind of flying by those men-at-arms and the Blackguards there, so potentially a pretty big mistake, but we'll see. Britonian infantry actually doing okay just by sheer weight of volume. The men-at-arms, swords and spears are getting back, getting on those artillery pieces, trying to shut things down for the Dark Elves. I'm not really sure what these Ravens Heralds are shooting at either, but they are here still, technically. Finally, Morathi comes down to the ground on top of her Blackguard, and where the Charybdis is as well, as she should have done some time ago. But now she's here. She can continue to hold out. The rest of the army struggling. Hellebroni poisoning a lot of these cavalry here. If there's another Soul Stealer available, that would be a great time to use it. But Morathi can't seem to stay on the ground. Gets back up into the air, being threatened once again by Albric. I'm not sure. Paladin? Where's the Paladin? Valley bro, where'd you go? Anyway, he's probably around here somewhere. Ooh, nice little wave. Wow, that did a lot of damage. I forgot how much armor-piercing damage that does. They must have buffed that at some point, because that just shreds those Blackguard very efficiently. The Spearmen at Arms still get terrified away, as to be expected, but nice heal. Very efficient placement there. Hits all of those nice cavalry units. Pit of Shades on the Halberds. Interesting choice. I probably would have, again, used the Pit of Shades on the Questing Knights, or, to be honest, with Morathi, I would say you want to use all of your Winds of Magic on Soul Stealer, pretty much. I wouldn't even bother bringing any other spells, to be honest, but there you go. Get a VTuber model? Oh, man. Morathi VTuber. To be honest, if I could get a Pistolier VTuber model, I might actually do that. Because, man, I love the Pistolier helmets. I don't know why. They look fantastic. But anyway, Britonia Knight's going to get in here and absolutely savage with Dark Elf infantry. Rider Rohan. Oh, no. I know, right? Like, it even has a leadership component, too, so it's just straight up better. Anyway, Scourge Runner Chariots getting chased by Albric and the Pally Bro. The Ravens Heralds are still here. They somehow haven't been killed, but I don't think they've really contributed anything to the battle. The Charybdis is also still here, so I guess if Morathi, the Charybdis, and the Blackguard of Nagaron can continue to hold out, sort of form a little bit of a defensive pocket, position of strength, they should be able to do okay, but there's just so many Britonian troops left on the battlefield to try and counteract them. Yeah, balance power definitely in Britonia's favor at this point, although things are not unwinnable for the Dark Elves. Losing out on these chariots is definitely painful. I love the AoE anti-large from Albric, too. It's just so nice. Like, even looking at, like, oh, this Damsel now has +8 bonus versus large. Oof. Wrecking those Scourge Runners. Absolutely wrecking them. Also got another Soul Stealer here. Again, only used on a single unit. Not the most efficient damage output. Would have been nice to just save that up for a big blob in the late game once the Knights inevitably blob up around the Charybdis. The Halberds are continuing to hold out here. The Abyssal Howl of the Charybdis, the leadership impact of that is pretty significant, but I don't know what Morathi was doing dropping down over here. Guess she's going to throw a Soul Stealer. Again, probably should be saving this Winds of Magic, or sorry, a Pit of Shades. Should be saving for Soul Stealer. Pit of Shades is going to do some pretty good damage, but not even as much as Soul Stealer, probably. And again, the Soul Stealer does heal Morathi, whereas the Pit of Shades obviously does not. So it's one of those things. If you The more you play Dark Elves, the more you kind of realize, like, there is only one spell with Morathi in multiplayer, and that is Soul Stealer. I mean, all 5 Soul Stealers, I think you can get 5 casts. That puts Morathi at her healing cap. And you also get an insane amount of damage output potentially on some blobs. But bounce power back towards even despite everything. Britonian infantry support just not able to hang against this high tier stuff. But Albrecht probably has one more boat on station. If he can get good contact on the Blackguards, he should be able to help finish them off with the Knights. The Knights getting us around on Morathi here could be pretty good. Ooh, he's going to go for the Goon on Morathi. Gets a big ol' attack at the back. Another very quick attack from the Trident. Does pretty good damage. Is he carrying the Trident? Yes, he is. Definitely should be. He gets back up in the air, turns to fight her. She's going to fly away, try and get back to land on something. But now Albrecht's just like, okay, you want to run away? That's fine. I'll just support my knights and give them all anti-large to kill these chariots, right? The questing knights with anti-large, the Grail Guardians with anti-large. It's bad news for that chariot. Meanwhile, the Blackguards just continuing to grind down infantry. I almost said Skaven. They're basically like Skaven equivalent infantry, but the Raven's Heralds also, I don't know, must be just completely forgotten about, but if they were to actually come in and get some of their ranged attacks on Albrecht especially, or on these cavalry as well, that could change things a little bit into this late game. But Paladin's coming back from wherever the heck he was. Paladin and Albrecht could both drop and do a ton of damage to this Charybdis and maybe burst down its leadership fast enough, but let's see. Countercharging the Scourge Runners once again. Should be able to rout them this time. Morathi still running up in the air. We've got a regrowth on Albrecht. That will tilt the balance of power pretty significantly as he gets his vigor refreshed and his health pumped back up. Rider Rohan. Oh, I'm so sorry. Right? Some genius at Creative Assembly said Sunfang's not AP, even though it definitely should be. Yes, the Knights of Britonia will be our shield. They will carry in this late game as they charge out the last of those spears. Finish off the Scourge Runner chariots. Raven's Heralds, better late than never, I suppose. They're going to get into the party and start to actually use some of their shots here. But Power of Darkness, again, sort of the telltale side of a new player. Power of Darkness doesn't actually do anything because of the amount of Winds Magic it costs to cast in multiplayer. In single player, I think you can literally get it to the point where it's free, in which case it actually is worth casting. But in multiplayer, I think you won't actually get enough Winds of Magic back for casting it to make it worth it. I think you're literally just wasting your Winds of Magic by casting it, especially in this type of a late game. But anyway, small mistakes aside, the Dark Elf player has done very well. But it's going to be tough. Albrecht with this AoE anti-large, everything's going to hurt the Charybdis more. Albrecht himself charging down, full health basically at this point. Here comes the wave. Surfer Albrecht. A leadership effect going on the Blackguards here. Doesn't do as much damage to them this time. Didn't make a square of contact, but the Knights charging in. The Grail Guardians and the Questing Knights, of course, with that anti-large. Just so strong. One more Soul Stealer attempted to be cast. Did it actually go off? Yes, it did actually go off, but that's not going to save Morathi at this point as she gets routed. Albrecht can chase her, or just come in and finish the Charybdis himself. These halberds, man, the Blackguard of Nagaron are just such a strong halberd unit. They're so good, man. I think we can fast forward to the rest of this, though, as Albrecht chases off Morathi, the Charybdis. Wow. Maybe the Charybdis actually carries this. Look at this. The Charybdis and the the Blackguards just refusing to die. Absolutely refusing to die. Once Britonia pulls everything back up all together, though, it should be enough. Let's see. Albrecht, Paladin come down. A little bit of Earthblood as well. Blackguards fighting. They rout the peasant mobs pretty quickly due to terror, but the Charybdis, oh man, if the Charybdis gets routed here, I think the Blackguards probably lose to army losses. Oh man, the men-at-arms can't hold their leadership. Charybdis, can it hold its leadership, though? That is the question. Albric, nice pull up and around. Re-engages with his charge bonus from the side here. A great play, and that should be enough. Yeah, balanced power tipping very rapidly, and Britonia gets the finish. A nice final stand from the Dark Elves, but yeah, Albric and the Paladin, too much anti-large for that poor Charybdis to deal with. Yeah, I hope so too, Ryan G. I think yeah, that spell needs to be looked at because mathematically it just doesn't work out most of the time in multiplayer. But great job to Consul of Rome, taking home the win there. Wow, 4,000 damage value on Albric. Holy guacamole! That might be record on this channel for damage value from Albric. That is impressive. Oh, just no, Coops. Just no. But, wow, Albric and the Paladin both, but significantly Albric doing a ton of damage there. The rest of the army, I mean, the Knights probably don't pay for themselves. They do okay, but they had a pretty tough build to go up against. Men-at-Arms with polearms are very cost-effective, as are the Men-at-Arms with swords and shields. And the swords and no shields, also pretty cost-effective here. Wrathy, yeah, 3,000 damage value on her, 15,000 damage dealt. Fear Spears probably do all right. Blackguards, 239 kills, 1,565 damage value, of 15,000 damage dealt. Very impressive performance, obviously quite good in this matchup. Raven's Heralds, I think if he had actually used the Raven's Heralds better throughout the course of the battle, that could have probably made the difference. It's hard to say, but it was pretty close there at the end. Scourge Runner Chariots also, despite wasting most of their ammunition on nonsense, did one of them at least pay for itself. Charybdis, likewise, 2,000 damage value on that. Interesting in this matchup, you know, I would think this thing's too vulnerable to Peasant Archer fire, but he made it work. Definitely made it work. Bolt Thrower is also decent, but... yeah. Oh, yeah, so that sounds terrible, Coops. Blackguards kill peasants better than swordmasters. I mean, I think they have, like, the same weapon strength as swordmasters, even after the anti-infantry bonus, so yes. In fact, you're correct. Anyway, how much time do I have left? We've been live for just about 2 hours, so... let's see. I think I've got time for a few more. Coops, you sent in this one, and we haven't had any vampire counts today. Well, I guess we did have the one for my brother, but, for the regular replays, you're up against no caster. That's okay, though, because there's lots of big monsters here. And Kemmler, double Banshee, triple Blood Knight. The Banshees are good against Lizardmen. They can be a little bit risky. Lizardmen don't tend to take much in the way of magic attacks, but there are a handful of units that could be potentially dangerous here. It doesn't look like they have anything, though, so instead you're just going to have to worry about the Dread Saurian's, 750 weapon strength punching through that physical resistance to deal damage, but... Psych? Wait, what? You should know this. What's Swordmaster's weapon strength? I want to say it's like 36, plus like a 18 bonus versus infantry, maybe, so actually, I guess Blackguard technically lower weapon strength. Even with the anti-infantry, maybe, but... It's Nakai the Boxer, right? Yeah. We've got Nakai, we've got Dread Saurian here, Rev Crystals, King Cohorts, regular Stegodon, interesting, some Croxigors, Star Chamber Guardians. Okay, so there is some magic damage here. Star Chamber Guardians ROR, but... they're pretty far away, and in the meanwhile, these Banshees are going to get in here, start mixing it up. We've got some Skeleton Warriors moving in, lots of Skeleton Warriors, Skeleton Spears, the Blood Knights, and the Crypt Ghouls moving in from the flank as well. Let's see, we'll keep this Dance Macabre and Undeath Resurgence, so 64-62 for the stats for Banshees, only 230 weapon strength, but certainly very impressive. We've got a summoned Krell as well. I don't think I've ever seen Krell fight Nakai, but here we go. For the first time, probably on this channel, we're going to see Krell mix it up with Nakai. If Krell actually does any attack animations. Right now he's just standing menacingly, but also getting staggered quite a bit as well. But this is going to be a 3v1 4v2 single entity fight, I guess. Nakai getting 3v1'd by Krell and by the Banshees. I guess the Banshees are not necessarily in contact because the Croc scores are body blocking pretty well. It looks like Krell's actually going after the Rev Crystal, which is probably the right call, to be honest. The Rev Crystal can heal everything else, so you want to try and get rid of it first. Kemmler uses his Cloak of Mist and Shadows, 60% physical resistance, magic damage, and Strider. Lots of useful stuff going on there, but Dreadsaurian comes over. The supporting situation, you can see the Star Chamber Guardians got locked away from this monster fight, which is a huge problem because all in between all the little cracks and crevices and all the little spaces in between these monsters, skeletons and zombies can filter through and get full surrounds and do that little bit of extra damage, distract some attack animations. A Primal Roar popped from Nakai here. Give some physical resistance and melee attack, but also cause an enrage. And again, the Banshees just continuing to kill these single entities here without everything else being able to respond. Coop's doing a great job of keeping the rest of this force delayed and pushed back away so that the Lizardmen can't fight in an unholy blob. Instead, the Vampire Counts will fight in an unholy blob. Krell getting absolutely tossed by the Dreadsaurian there. Probably took a bunch of damage, but Kai is getting pretty close to going down there. Undeath Resurgent and Miasma of Despair both being popped. Kemmler is just so strong in terms of support abilities, but he has to be careful not to get killed by the Dreadsaurian. He does need to be in melee for his sword to be active, but let's see. Right now, Lizardman single entities are still holding out. The Banshees have basically taken no damage, though. You can see there that even with hits from these big high damage single entities, they're really not in too much pain. Not like this Stegodon, which is getting routed off by Blood Knight Cycle Charge over here. Blood Knight's also helping to clean up a lot of these skinks, but they can now swing out and try and come in and rear charge this pocket, perhaps. Fiver for Ryan G. How would you make an ROR Blood Knight unit without it being busted? It'd cost 2,000 points. That's how you make it without it being busted, is you literally make it 2,000 points. It would be the most expensive cavalry in the game. How much are the Lost Sylvan Knights? They aren't 2,000, are they? Are they 1,800, 1,900? Something like that. I'd have to check again. Maybe they are 2,000, but they would literally have to be 2,000 cost. As far as what abilities I would give them, I really have no idea. But I appreciate the fiver, Ryan. 36 with like 14 anti-infantry, I think. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. 50 overall sounds about right. Which, what? Blackguards have 44, I think, for their weapon strength. Yeah. Yeah. That's all good, Coops. I mean, it's I will occasionally cast battles with no caster, but you can see the Star Chamber Guardians do eventually get in here and start getting some hits on the Banshees, and as soon as they do, the Banshees' leadership starts to suffer, and they start to take some damage. The Blood Knights also kind of getting ground down over time. Thankfully, Kemmler's here to continue to try and sustain with healing, but these single entities at perfect vigor or Lizardman just so strong at this point, as Nakai kind of bops around. He does have it, right? Yes, he does. Okay, so that perfect vigor box should be amazing, but the Blood Knights continuing to get a nice surround, nice cycle charge. The Banshees got away from the Star Chamber Guardians. They're going to sweep up and around and rear charge into the Dreadsaurian, so some really excellent positioning plays here. With Krell off the field, the single entity fight's not quite so favorable for Vampire Counts, but oh man, oh, Kemmler, oh no. Kemmler's quite lucky that he didn't just die right there, probably. Oh, there's the hit, though, from the Dreadsaurian, getting a huge chunk out of him. He's going to have to run. Does summon up some zombies to try and finish things, but balance power still quite even. All these skinks finally getting shattered, though. The Blood Knights can start to cycle charge these large, high-value single entities. Banshees getting in once again, as the Star Chamber Guardians are pretty much a non-issue at this point. Kemmler might even straight up go down, but I think that the Vampire Counts probably still have this locked up. The Blood Knights plus the Banshees should be able to finish things off. They do get rid of the Rev Crystal. Now dropping a rear charge on the Dreadsaurian. Kemmler gets killed. Poor Kemmler. But the Banshees here getting in. With the poison, the Banshees' DPS is really quite poor. But if given enough time, they can take something out. They're one of the weaker assassin-type heroes. I would consider them an assassin-type hero. They don't have an assassination debuff, though, which is a little bit sad. They'd probably be super OP if they did have an assassination debuff, but maybe for the Vampire Counts rework someday in Game 3, they can get a little debuff, a little character debuff. ROR Blood Knight with Terror. That would be pretty good. That would actually be pretty good. I don't think it would be ridiculously broken, but you know what might be ridiculously broken? Hey, a 2 from Zach. Wait, hi there, Dolph. Hope the stream is going well. It is, man. It is. Especially now that you're here. It's even better. So thank you for that. Much appreciated, my friend. Tumblr is in a better place in the Dread Saurian's stomach. I mean, arguably better. I mean, Cavalry just walking around on the earth, I think, is a lot for some people, but here come the Banshees. They can maybe chase off Nakai. No, it looks like the Blood Knights will probably be able to, though. And Dread Saurian versus 2 Banshees. Okay, so this is like a perfect example of single entity fights. I know I say this all the time. You guys who watch the channel frequently, I apologize if you have heard this 1.5 million times, but single entity fights, numbers usually win. 2 Banshees cost like less than a third, probably, of the Dread Saurian's total cost, but 2v1 here, especially with the Dread Saurian being so damaged, they will win. The Blood Knights also getting in a little rear charge here, it's a little bit of cycle. I don't know, actually, I say they will win, but now that they're going 1v1, the Banshees definitely has less of a chance, so she's going to try and squeak away there. Nakai has not been finished off yet, but is getting chased off. Blood Knights, though, I mean, 2 Blood Knights cycle charge with the Banshees definitely will be able to finish off the Dread Saurian, so 1 Banshee goes down, the other one, Dread Saurian whiffs on quite a few attacks there. Once it does make contact, it still does a ton of damage, but Dread Saurian's going to shatter. That'll be a victory, so thanks for sending that one in, Coops. Even though it was no caster on the Lisbon's part, it's still a fun one, and it was still very, very close. And Dread Saurian still got 251 kills, almost 5,000 damage value. I mean, Dread Saurians kind of fell out of favor a little bit, but there are certain matchups where they can be ridiculously good. Basically, anytime they're not going to get shot to pieces, which obviously against Vampire Counts is the case. The Stegodon, though, I think you straight up just swap this Stegodon out for a caster, like you take like a Skink Oracle. This build suddenly becomes quite a bit better, and I think might have possibly won the game. It's hard to say. Star Chamber Guardians end up paying for themselves, even though they don't quite get in the right position at the right time. If they had been able to support that big monster Kaiju battle from the start, they probably would have finished off the Banshees, but Banshees instead come in, get some really nice damage value. Considering how cheap they are, this is excellent, excellent value, definitely. The Blood Knights also, I would imagine, yep, they carry some pretty huge value as well. The rest of the army here, just kind of standing around to get stomped on. That's fine. There you go. Lesman side, Nakai pays for himself, pretty much. Star Chamber Guardians, like I said, pretty good. Yeah, almost 5,000 on the Dread Saurian. Insane. Insane. Even more terrifying to deal with? I get it, because, you know, they get there. Anyway, just give the Charmed from Sirens. Yeah, that could work. That could work. All I see as a Counts player against Lisbon is the Nakai Shredder Dread Saurian box. Yeah, since I publicized it, especially on my channel, and like Hadra's used it on some big time replays on Burns' channel, it's been a pretty common pick these days. It is quite strong, I have to say. So let's take a look. How much time do I have left? I think I have time for a couple more. So will Dread Saurians be good against Khorne, Nurgle, and Tzeentch? Probably not Tzeentch. Khorne, Nurgle, and Slaanesh, I think. It will be good against all 3 of those, yes. Nurgle especially, because it's such a meat bag in and of itself, and it does a huge amount of damage, I think it'll be able to cut through what they have. Khorne's a little bit tricky. I think it could actually get out DPS'd by Khorne. We'll see, but it also, at the same time, could just smash certain Khorne units really hard, which would be beneficial. But Slaanesh, I think, actually might be the best because of the poison Howdah. You can kind of slow units down in the area of effect around it. huge weapon damage. Should be pretty good against the squishy-ish Slaanesh units. So I think probably actually against Slaanesh might be the best. I mean, they have a really significant lack of ranged units, but I think Tzeentch has enough range that the Dreadsaurian won't work against him. Yeah, Slaanesh, yeah. Anyway, fun stuff. Fun stuff. Let's go to a Tomb King replay. We haven't had any Tomb Kings yet today, so this one from Captain Telis, going under King of Atolia. As his username here, we've got Tomb Kings versus Beastmen. In most people's mind, this would be a significant advantage for the Beastmen, I think. But actually, I think that's wrong. Beastmen's weakness against undead is still present, even if it's less impactful than it was before. And this is one matchup. I don't think it's as hard as Vampire Counts, and I think it's easier than... Hang on. Yeah. it's harder. It's harder than Vampire Coast, but easier than Vampire Counts. How about that? We've got Cetra here and the Regiment Renowned Sphinx of Usek, Kepper Guard, Nekar Warriors up front, a couple of Skeleton Horse Archers. Yeah, Nekar Horsemen in the back. For the Beastmen, got a couple of Tuskor Chariots, Taurox leading the way, Grey Shimmalor Wild, a bunch of Pig Herds, a bunch of Throwing Axes, some Spearmen, 4 Herds with Shields. No Gorgon is maybe to be expected. I don't know. Is the Gorgon still meta in this matchup? I would think you'd probably want it to go up against the Tomb King's constructs. But anyway, Nekar Warriors get a nice engagement on some Ungor Spearman Herd in the center. Sphinx of Usek is coming over. Taurox doesn't have fire resistance, right? So the Sphinx of Usek with that elite anti-large armor piercing should do pretty well in a trade, but let's see. Some magic and some other things kind of turning around the engagement for those Nekar Warriors, but Cetra dives in over on this far side to help cause some terror in the ranks of the Beastmen. Sphinx of Usek actually going after the Brishimmalor Wild might overextend into a really dangerous position, though. The Pig Herds are swarming. Taurox is also moving in. The Ungor Raider fire is quite impactful here. Just throwing axes, all the missiles being chucked. Sphinx of Usek taking significant damage already, but the Necrotech should be able to toss in a Restore to help heal. A little bit of physical resistance from Incantation of Protection as well. The Kepper Guard, Skeleton Spears moving into support there. Kaijus, another really nicely placed Vilepide as well. Does some pretty good damage to the Kepper Guard, but also does pop the Realm of Souls, so all the Tomb Kings are going to get some nice healing here. Sphinx of Usek, 1,000 HP on that Restore is a huge amount. I always forget, man, that is a lot of HP to try and heal back up on a big, nasty single entity. So both Cetra and the Sphinx of Usek kind of pull out of that engagement. The Skeleton Horseman Archers are thrown in to screen, and they almost routed off those Razorgore herds, so nice little kind of repositioning. Taurox does not want to go 2v1 versus the Cetra and the Sphinx of Usek, but Captain Telis doing his best to try and draw that engagement, try and force it to happen, which it looks like he's going to be able to. Incantation of Cursed Blades, additional bonus versus large on the Sphinx of Usek. So far, Taurox has been getting knocked down a lot, so neither of them have been able to get a ton of attack animations, but there's a couple of huge hits from both Cetra and the Sphinx on Taurox. The rest of the battle, looking around here, the Beastmen definitely assaulting on multiple fronts. Tomb King's starting to run a little bit low on HP, but the Kepper Guard will continue to blend through the center. A lot of the Beastmen infantry, likewise, also pretty low at this point, but man, Taurox took quite a bit of damage in that engagement. Throwing axes making their presence felt. The Sphinx, Busek, and Cetra both trying to stay away from them. They pull back to defend the backline against these chariots. Help support these Nekara horsemen. Another nice Vilepide going after those Kepper Guard. You don't have Burning Head, right, which is like the bane of the Kepper Guard, so doing the next best thing and just applying that Lore of Beasts damage. It looks like the chariots have pretty much been finished off. The one, at the very least, has been chased in the boonies by some Skeleton Horsemen. Cetra and the Sphinx can come back around, possibly get another Restore on the Sphinx. There it is. Yep, another 1,000 HP healed back up as Cetra and the Sphinx, which is definitely the name of a metal band, probably. Oh man, the Sphinx of Usek. I have to say, I love the Necro Sphinx model and animations. I was a little bit sad when it fell out of favor in the meta, but definitely quite impactful in certain matchups. Cetra's Terror also being quite impactful here. The Razorgore herds somehow don't get terrified. Now they actually rout, but the Tomb Kings holding up pretty well. I mean, Beastmen largely are relying at this point on their missile units, which is not the best place to be in. Torox here is having to try and hold back some of these big, nasty melee units, which is not ideal for him. Gets charged in the side from Cetra there. Cetra, 64 charge bonus on the War Sphinx, which is pretty solid. Definitely enough to get through the 55 defense of Torox, 47 even. Spearman getting in there, finishing off those Razorgore herds. Man, one full health tactical reserve unit of skeleton spears moving in as well. That's going to be really helpful for dealing with these Centaurs in the late game. Tactical reserve spear, OP, confirmed. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I don't know why we haven't seen Scarbrand's stat line. That's a good point. Cetra has spells. True. True, Cetra does have spells. Imric and the Shredder are probably the only comparable melee powerhouses. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a handful of characters that can get there. Like, Archaon can get there if once he's juiced up. And, you know, like, yeah, Imric can definitely get there. Oh, man. Oh, man, what's going on here? Incantation of Protection, a little bit of a Sunburst. Sphinx of Usek just needs a couple of attacks on Torox. Come on, you can do it. You can finish him. Man, there's so many throwing axes left, though. That is going to be a problem. Torox does get routed, though. We'll see. Will that be enough? The Ushabti summon disrupts the Centaurs with throwing axes, allows the spears to get into combat with a handful of them. Over here, though, these Tomb Guard not feeling great on their leadership. Them plus the Nekara Horsemen trying to finish off those Tuskor Chariots. Man, it is looking very, very close at this point. Incantation of Cursed Blades, another anti-large bonus for Cetra. Will he be able to finish? Yes! Torox goes down to Mr. the Imperishable. Immediately, those Ungor Spearmen are going to tear her out, and you can see just all of the Tomb King army all of a sudden just wakes up and goes for a full all-out attack blitz to try and finish off Beastman's leadership at this point. Captain Telis, the floor is yours. Let's see, yep, and there's the army losses. So, manages to take home the win with the finish of Torox there. I really like this, actually. You know, Torox is a force of nature, absolutely. And to just, you know, see that and say, you know what, I can out-monster you. Did you know that? Coming in with big Cetra and the Sphinx of Usek, neither of which necessarily pay for themselves, but combined, killing Torox tactically was absolutely worth it. Kipperguard also pay for themselves. Nekar Horseman, awesome unit, just fantastic in this matchup. Tomb Guard are able to hold out pretty well, all things considered. Skeleton Horseman Archers also contributing some nice support. The Restore from the Necrotech, obviously super key in keeping Sphinx of Usek alive. Yeah. Khorne doesn't need to pay for a caster. That's true. That's true. His stats are too big to fit on the unit card. That's some logic right there, Loopy. Can't argue with that. Oh, man. This Brazium Lore Wild does a great job, though. Just need a little bit more anti-large AP, like a Gorbel or anything like that would have definitely been quite beneficial. Throwing axes are good, but they're oftentimes not quite enough. I find, especially with the physical resistance of the Sphinx of Usek, plus, you know, the spells and everything. It turned out to be a little bit of a rough situation, but a fun one. Big thanks to Captain Telis for sending that one in. A great victory with the Tomb Kings. Not too often you come by those these days, so let me just quickly check over here. I want to make sure we hit as many factions as possible in this stream, which we've hit almost all of them, I think. Let's see, did we... Yeah, we did get the Wood Elves and the High Elves on that one. Got Dwarfs and one of my bros. You know what? Way's here, and Way has a replay in my folder. Let's do this replay from Way, and then I think that might be it for the day. That's right. The Sphinx, that's right. I was just going to check that. I think the Sphinx of Usek does have some fire resistance. Let's check that, because, yeah, if that's the case, it is a straight-up hard counter. Yes, you're right. I thought I had physical resistance, but you're right. 25% fire resistance means that Beastman, means that Torox with his innate fire damage is going to I mean, 25%'s a bit, it's not a ton. It does make a difference for sure, but it doesn't mean that Torox can't beat the Sphinx of Usek. It just means it's going to be a lot more difficult for him to do so, especially when you're combining that with the physical resistance of Incantational Protection. That's 65% resistance added together, which is quite significant. So, yeah, I really like the Sphinx of Usek in that context. Anyway. Yeah, this is it, Way. You know it. The Hellebron replay. So, very unusual build. We've got Hellebron here, Lore of Beastcaster, 2 Shades with dual hand weapons. Very unusual. 4 Witch Elves, we got 4 Sad Swords, 2 Sisters of Slaughter, and a Death Hag up against Skaven. We got Thraught the Unclean, and a Packmaster, Plague, Priest, probably on the Furnace. Maybe. Maybe not, actually. Yes it is. Thought so. Blight Scabs, Plague Pack, Rhythm Renowned, Censer Bearers, quite good in this matchup. Got a bunch of Clan Rats, which I don't love. Clan Rats as a unit, I don't think are cost-effective to bring. I think you basically just bring everything except them. But anyway, a couple of Wolf Rats on the flank as well. On the Altdorf outskirts map. Good stuff. Reapways. Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, Way, like, what? You're trying to read those unit cards almost gave me a stroke, but... Oh, fun stuff. Fun stuff. This will probably be the last one for today, but thank you all so much for coming out. We will be doing more community replay streams, so if I didn't get to your battle today, I may end up casting it in the, because, you know, like I said several times in the stream, I'm going to be out of town the 22nd to the 30th, so some of those replays that we didn't get to today from around this time frame may end up getting casted still, but anyway. Yeah, you might have missed it at the beginning, Zach, but my plan is to do one of these every week until the release of Game 3, and then once Game 3 comes out, we'll kind of reevaluate. I may go back to maybe doing it only 2 times a month, but from now until the release of Game 3, I'm planning on, other than on the 26th, we should be doing this every Sunday. Anyway, oof, these Sisters of Slaughter over on this far side just get devoured by Pit Fighters of Hell's Deep, Rat Ogres, Packmaster, Wolf Rats. All that is a big bad for them. But Witch Elves getting through here, Sad Swords also getting into combat. They are going to shred all of this Skaven chaff very quickly. And here comes Crone Hellebron, armor piercing, poison damage, 78 attack, moving in to try and finish off the Plague Priest. Clan Rats will scream. Nice Plague Breath there. But let's see, we got some summons coming up here. Looks like some Clan Rat summons. Oh, Plague Monk summons even, very strong. Plague Monks, as we know, great in this matchup. But let's see what we can do here. Hellebron got the Shades with dual hand weapons moving back. Trying to stay out of range of the Rat Ogres there. Some Sad Swords moving into screen. So the formation already very much disrupted on both sides, but Witch Elves not quite into combat yet. Should be getting there anytime soon. Got a Man's Core summon being pulled up right here. Probably going to go after these Rat Ogres to try and keep them out of the Shades as long as possible. Meanwhile, Hellebron's getting in here. We haven't seen the Red Mist descend quite yet. She does have it, right? No, she actually doesn't, but she does have her sword and Heroic Killing Blow, so we'll watch for those. Murderous prowess has gone up, though, so you can see these shades with dual hand weapons up to 50 melee attack. I mean, the rat ogres are doing damage, but they're also taking huge damage in that melee fight as well. Sisters of Slaughter get in there. They enrage. So many things on the Skaven roster are just being enraged by Witch Elves at this point, but here we go. Crone Hellebron and the Death Hag getting a pretty good character engagement. Hellebron should be able to shred this Packmaster in a big hurry. Yeah, she is taking significant damage, though. I believe probably Death Hag does have the Witch Brew. Interesting. She does not have the Chill Blade, though, for the AoE debuff, just to give some extra defensive stats, but should be okay. We'll keep that in view as Hellebron gets some more chunks out of various targets there. Witch Elves moving in. The Enrage, if they can enrage all these characters, just like that, Throt the Unclean gets enraged. His leadership's going to go down. The melee defense debuff of the Madness of Cain, also pretty nice to have in this type of a situation as well. Sisters of Slaughter moving in. The Shades were able to be bailed out. Eventually, the Manticore summons, Sad Swords, everything else did push back. The Rat Ogres there, they did not have the healing, of course, of the Packmaster or Throt nearby, so that ended up changing things significantly. Hellebron moving away from the Packmaster, turning around, getting a really nice charge in here, and then with the Shades, she should be able to finish that off. Even the Scrying Stone providing a little bit of damage resistance won't be enough, but Hellebron's got to be careful. She is quite squishy. The Death Hag, though, coming in, she's got 85 melee attack with that Murderous Mastery active, 440 weapon strength, just absolutely slapping Throt. Her plus the Witch Elves are a nasty combination for him to have to deal with, so he's going to get routed. Plague Priest is still alive, doing some pretty good damage to those Shades, though. Shades can turn and fire. Wolf Rat's coming in, inundating one unit, trying to keep them from doing so, but they should be able to get a nice bead. The Blightscab's Plague Pack, I'm not really sure why, have not been involved in combat at all up until this point, so they're going to try and get in and clean up whatever else is left. Charge on these Sisters of Slaughter would probably finish them off. I'm not really sure. They just have a movement order or charge order. I have no idea, to be honest. But there we go. Now they're going to charge the Shades there. Probably delete them instantly. Let's look over here. The Witch Elves, once again, just clearing through the chaff. Death Hag coming back over. Its Sorceress is taking quite a bit of damage, but this Plague Pack, I'm not sure. We'll see what Way can do to try and finish them off. But where is Crone Hellebron? She took a journey and is now coming all the way back over to try and win. Sisters of Slaughter get into the rear of the Plague Packs without having been charged, which is super important. 31 charge bonus on the Plague Packs is huge. Puts them up to 70, 70-something attack there. Maybe even 80. Yeah, 80-plus attack with the Frenzy active, certainly, on the charge, which is just absolutely insane, especially for a unit with 90 unit models. They are going to just clean up everything that's left here. But another Summon Manticore in the late game, super clutch, before the Sorceress Lore Beast routes. It's going to come down and probably finish off Throt, the Death Hag, plus the Manticore easily going to be able to get the Unclean and shatter him, possibly kill him. If they can kill him, that would make a huge difference, and the Manticore does land the finishing blow. That is going to be a bigger leadership impact to the Skaven. And now the Manticore is going to have to drop down, get on the Blightscab's Plague Pack. Shades with dual weapons getting in here. They're cutting up those clan rats with shields pretty effectively. They do not want to fight the Blightscab's Plague Pack, but here comes Crone Hellebron. She's now going to get her Sword Drain active. And Hellebron did not bring her item that gives AoE magic resistance, which would have been really nice against this Plague Pack right here, just to give all of these units magic resistance. But Hellebron taking too much damage, going to have to pull away there. Maybe get in on this Plague Priest. It's hard to say, but she didn't get countercharged by the Plague Priest, which is good. It doesn't have a ton of charge bonus, but 22 might have been enough. She gets something there. Wisdom's Wild Form and a Heroic Killing Blow, putting her up to 823 weapon strength. Can she finish off the Plague Priest? Look at that huge hit right there as she kind of gets bopped by the Hoopty cart, but wow. Just dismantles the Plague Priest in no time at all. With the Plague Priest down, that does put the balance power pretty decisively in favor of the Dark Elves, despite this pocket of Skaven infantry here. Clan Rats, Blight Scaps, Plague Pack. Why does Hellebron scream? Hellebron screams because she loves screaming. Queek screams because he is a terrified rat. But anyway, the Death Hag going to continue to hold out here. The Shades raining just a little bit of extra shots here will help with the leadership, right? That attacked by missiles leadership debuff is an extra kind of, yeah, you can see there all the leadership modifiers happening at the same time. Way to go, Way. Fun one. Love that. Interesting build. Definitely worked out pretty well here. You didn't have to face any mortars, which I think would have been a really bad time for this build, but I like the build from Omega too. Nice and thematic. Unfortunately, just the lack of support for the Rat Ogres and the Wolf Rats trying to get the Shades, I think, was pretty important. I was searching for the words there, but both the Shades were able to generate great value and did not get shut down. Were able to come in the late game and get some key volleys for leadership damage. Likewise, Hellebron, almost 3,000 damage dealt from her. She takes a beating, but also dishes out some serious pain. Witch Elves, high kill totals. One of them pays for itself, one of them does not. A third does not, but there you go. Rest of the infantry here, I mean, Sad Swords, alright. Rest of the Witch Elves, alright. The Death Hag, almost 2,000 damage value on her. I have to say, I'm pretty impressed. I had kind of forgotten about the Death Hag's, like, actual melee prowess. With the poison, with the high attack, the high speed, she can definitely scoot around the battlefield and get some damage in at a very cost-effective rate. I mean, maybe 700 points with the kit she was taking here, so yeah, right, that unit card placement makes my eyes bleed, but let's ignore that for now. Go to the Skaven side. Plague Priest, despite having a tough situation, was able to get some pretty good damage value in. The Plague Packs, I think, had... The Plague Packs tactical reserve, I do think, cost Omega here. If he had been able to get those active and maybe supporting that kind of main fight of the characters at Throt, when Throt was taking a bunch of damage, it might have made a pretty significant difference. It's hard to say. Wolf Rats, though, man, gets really nice value chasing routing stuff. But anyway, yeah, sure. If you want to just send it to me on Discord, if you're in the Discord, let me actually do this real quick. If you guys are not in the Discord, feel free to join. I'm going to, let's see here. Just go ahead and drop it here in the Discord. Just because YouTube, it's going to be upset if you try and post a link in the YouTube chat, because, you know, it's great. But, yeah, if you guys aren't in the Discord for whatever reason, go ahead and join. That's how you submit replays. If I do King of the Hills, tournaments, everything Dov Plays related is on the Discord. So be sure to join there if you want to catch some extra news, submit your own replays. Again, all that jazz is located there. That is all the time I have for today, so thank you all so much for coming out. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, you guys are the best. You're the reason I do this. So look forward to another community replay stream next week. Also going to be doing the South Sea Mercenary League Grand Finals next weekend as well. So some great streaming slate, slate of streaming upcoming for next weekend. So be sure to mark off your calendars. Thank you all so much for coming out. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah,